WBZFM and HD Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Less than 24 hours after firing his head coach, Patriots owner Robert Kraft met the media to explain that and discuss the future of his franchise. He took full responsibility for the Mayo hiring and firing with his team and added he's ready to get to work to find his replacement, too.
We want to interview as many people as we can that we think can help us get to that position that we want to be in. So we have put out and requests, and Stacy will be filling you in on that.
Mike Vrabel is considered by many the overwhelming favorite for the job, but many outlets are reporting last year's hot head coaching candidate, Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, will speak to both the Patriots and Chicago Bears this week about a job. Speaking of Chicago, they've asked Dallas for permission to speak to their head coach, Mike McCarthy. Former Dallas and Patriots running back Ezekiel Elliott has signed with the Chargers. The Bruins play Edmonton at TD Garden tonight. Bruins have lost 4 in a row. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And after that game is done, we'll head to Denver for the Celtics game against the Nuggets with Grandy and Max. Everyone on the Celtics roster is available as they get ready to wrap up a 4-game road trip. Jason Tatum was yesterday voted the Eastern Conference's Player of the Week. Denver's Nikola Jokic won the Western Conference honor. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
Gerard Mayo is out. Who will be the next Patriots head coach? For up-to-date news and reaction, 98.5 The Sports Hub has you covered on air and online.
Fred, hello. Hello. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Oopity up with a football.
98.5. The Hub.
Bruins are back from the West Coast.
Cocaine and hookers. Yes. Na.
Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are the Toucher and Hardy Show. We are in the Town Fair Tire Studios. You can watch us on YouTube every day live, and then throughout the course of the day, there's videos and things of that nature. Go to youtube.com and search 98.5 The Sports Hub. You can also, very quick bed. I feel like now I've gone too far. But these are all things I have to say. We're brought to you by FanDuel Sports. Make every moment more with FanDuel. 617-779-0985. I feel it very important to plug the YouTube because that seems like something that is very necessary. And
what the buyout is?
The buyout would be that this is the way that people are distributed, that information is distributed.
Nicholas is working on a new show intro. We can make sure the bed's super long on that.
Yeah, no, I heard Nicholas's new intro. It's actually great. So I was walking my dog in the cold when I heard it. I'll always remember where I was when I heard that intro.
It's a good blues song title.
What was the good blues? Spaghetti's out at the
Walking my dog in the colds.
It's funny because, I'm talking about YouTube and how they distribute stuff. For whatever reason, I'm getting Howard Stern now in my car. I used to not get it. I don't pay for it. And it was funny because he was talking about how the Haktua girl has got a popular podcast and how he had to work to get onto the radio. And there was actually a time where in order to get a microphone, and he said that he would be at parties and people will be at parties and people will hand him cards. He'll go like, I'm on the radio, and they'll go, oh, I have a show too. And they'll hand him a card. He'll be like, what the hell is going on? I have a feeling that the Haktua girl, who's in deep yogurt for the Haktua cryptocurrency that she was trading.
Oh, no.
No. Do you not know about this?
No, did it not go well?
It was called like Hawk. It was called
Hawk Coin, I think.
Hawk Coin.
Yeah.
That Hawk Coin, and she like it was a scam where they initiated this.
Oh no, that's what took the Walking Bets girl down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is these morons, they get I mean, there's no way the Hawk Tua girl like knew how to work cryptocurrency, but they put their name on, I don't know how it works, but they put their name on it and then they release it and then they sell all their shares of it or sell all their Bitcoin and then the price tanks. And so they artificially build it up and then they sell it all and it tanks, and that's illegal. 50 Cent it's like penny stocks. 50 Cent got in trouble with that, with penny stocks. And I think maybe we're going to explore a very highly compensated podcast in the Travis Kelce or the Travis Kelce show. Maybe the Hawk Tua girl will stem the tide of maybe this has gotten a little out of hand. That a girl that was interviewed on the street and was funny. I mean, the Hawk Tua thing was funny the way she said it, but maybe that's not someone that people.
You should be following her investment advice,
or that she necessarily, that if she has a show that people at least one time millions of people are listening to, maybe it's time that everyone ease off a little bit on making a podcast.
I was going to say, maybe it's time for us all as a planet just to take a breather. Maybe it doesn't have to be a meteor, type of breather, but maybe everyone just kind of steps back for a second and says, hey.
Well, I told you this, is that Howard Stern could retire. Sirius stock's not doing well at all. And maybe there's a chance Howard Stern could retire at the end of the year. His contract's up. And I read this big article in the Hollywood Reporter about how Sirius is combating this. And they've spent this is going to tank them. This is really going to tank them because it's what happened to some of these big radio companies, is that they have invested heavily into podcasts. Now, there is two different ways this could go. So the girl that does Call Her Daddy, I think would be a big radio star or broadcasting star anyway. She started off with a podcast, but it was distributed by Barstool, which is essentially a media company. So it was, and she was just someone who was really good at it and then did it. It's still only like 2 hours long, and it's an interview format to my knowledge, which I don't know. I mean, if there's, like I told you guys, if there's a million interview shows and there's a million people interviewing a million people, there's no way you can consume all of it, and there's no way that's long form interviews are that interesting with the celebrity or with anyone for that matter. You could catch lightning in a bottle here and there, but there's just not enough of them. But they gave the Smartless podcast, the one with Jason Bateman, the guy from Will and Grace, and Will Arnett, they gave them a tremendous amount of money, and that's a very popular podcast, and I don't doubt that it's good, but that's not going to be popular in 3 years. Those three guys ass grabbing with a guest is a long form interview. That hit because everyone knew who they were because they were celebrities, and it was a clever idea and it was good, but that's not a 4-hour live radio show where people. It's just a totally different thing. Like these companies, like the people that hire David Lee Roth and stuff, they have so little respect for broadcasting and like broadcasters because you're not a movie star or a television star. Like they don't care. Now the Call Her Daddy girl's different. She's a broadcaster, and she just does it in a non-radio form or a non-satellite radio form. So I get that. But Jason Bateman and Will Arnett and the guy from Will and Grace, no one's gonna pay, and they want to put it behind a paywall. So not only would you have to subscribe to Sirius, you'd have to pay extra for the Smartless podcast.
That's overthinking.
So say that comes out twice a week, which I don't even probably doesn't, but say it comes out twice a week. You think people are going to pay to have something installed into their car and then pay extra so they can listen to 3-4 hours of these guys interviewing someone in 3 years from now? They're going to bankrupt themselves. They have a unique opportunity where they can have live programming that's installed into your car. I know you can stream stuff from your phone and all that stuff. Sirius tried the app and it didn't work. They've had to completely pivot from the app. Their whole thing was in-car entertainment, and now they're putting stuff that's not even live on.
Yeah.
Just featuring gimmicky celebrity stuff. That's going to fail.
It's just a little different, when you only have to do 2 hours twice a week as opposed to 4 hours 5 days a week.
And it's a
little different.
And it's a long. People don't know you. It's not as nearly as intimate. It's not live, and also it's a gimmick that's going to pass. And by the way, if you're trying to get young people, Jason Bateman's older than me. Will Arnett's, if not older than me, my age, and so's the guy from Will and Grace. This isn't, cracking into this. What are the kids listening to? Oh, podcast. First of all, that whole notion is ridiculous. It's just the way the audio is distributed. It's still audio entertainment. The parameters are the same. You have to be entertaining through your voice without the use of images. That's the whole thing. And unless people start getting away from long-form interviews and doing actual shows with entertainment and comedy and things of that nature, none of that stuff's going to work. It's all going to work for a little while, but not for long.
No, they'll overserve the audience that is into podcasts right now with more podcasts, but trying to get, as you said, Fred, like younger people to listen to an hour-long podcast. Like I did it once. My daughter and I were on a road trip, and I said, "Here, this is a good podcast. You like this?" And we just pulled up one, and she was, "Wow, that's really cool." And she's been with me in the car when I've been listening to the middle of this same show, and she's like, "Oh, that's great." I'm like, "Have you gone and listened to it?" No, because they consume stuff in like 10 seconds at a clip.
Right.
That's all they want. Give me 10 seconds of something brand new, and then 10 seconds of something else. I'm going to listen to, an hour-long This American Life, which is this, weaving, interconnected story about 2 or 3 different things. No. That's not happening, not with them.
Well, my kids, I like the Hawk to a Girl more than my kids do. My kids can't stand the Hawk to a Girl.
Mine either. Yeah, my kids can't listen to her at all.
But it's really just pointing at the shiny thing and going, "Ugh." Just like CBS Radio panicked when Stern retired. This is all happening over again. When Stern left, broadcast radio for Sirius Radio, they panicked, and I told you the story that they asked Jon Stewart not to take over for Howard Stern, but to produce the show and to find the next guy. Jon Stewart with no experience in radio, and he apparently went into a meeting and went, "Why am I here? Like, what do you want out of me? Like, I don't know any radio people." And then they asked Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who do South Park, which is great, and they write hit plays and, good movies and everything else. But what the hell do they know about doing a radio show? And it wasn't for them to do the radio show. It was to the people at CBS Radio that are in the radio business are turning to 2 guys that have never done radio or probably don't know many people that do and asking them for their consult. They should be the ones who know how to do it. So what do? They end up with David Lee Roth.
Why all the sex crimes?
It's an unmitigated disaster. They don't even prep him for it. They don't even have any guardrails in place, and they put him on, and he immediately fails.
Okay.
And now Howard Stern may retire, and it's the same stupid thing. We're just pointing at celebrities and going, and it's gonna. I assure you, it's gonna tank that company. It's going to bankrupt that company.
There was an unflattering photo of your Hawk Tuah girl recently where people speculated that she was pregnant.
Oh,
But
that would be nice.
It turns out that it was an old photo of her on a beach, and she was just kind of like
She's fat.
posed in a way where it looked like she had, like a pregnancy belly. But
Yeah. The Haktua girl.
we don't, John. At this point, we don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe she was pregnant and had abortion. Bill, go ahead. But you probably wouldn't be showing. Go ahead, Bill.
Baby.
Hey, what's up, Bill?
From my understanding, I'm pretty sure like a lot of these long form podcasts, they're doing it basically to get like one or two clips out of the whole thing to put on TikTok.
That's probably true, which is very wise of Sirius to be paying for the junk that's required to knock it down into 2 clips. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, just for the kids. That's why the kids love TikTok.
Right, but if I'm serious, why am I or anyone? Why am I going to pay the Kelsey brothers $100 million when they're never going to be? Every day they get less famous, and why am I going to give them $100 million? If the way it's being consumed is like you're saying, it's being consumed in these 2-minute increments, and B, that it's not going to be as popular tomorrow as it was today. That's the thing. And again, there are exceptions. Again, I have all the respect in the world for the Call Her Daddy girl. I've never heard it, but I appreciate what she's done. She was, someone who was naturally funny and got with a broadcasting company and created something from nothing and, built this huge audience. That, to me, is impressive. And I understand that. Now, what I would do if I was serious is I would say you're coming in and doing a 2-hour show every day live.
Yes.
And you're going to do more than just interviews. I don't know. I think she just interviews people because that's what I've seen clips of. I've never downloaded the podcast. It's not for me. It's for women. But I've never downloaded it. But I would go, look, you're really talented, but I need to have you in 5 days a week live. We'll replay it later in the day, but I need to have you in live. I need to have that live show. I need people to be able to interact with you live. I need that sense of intimacy. That's what we can bring to the table that other people can't. Because listening to a canned podcast from recorded 3 months ago and put in the can is not the same experience as listening to something live. Again, there's not that intimacy. That's the thing that this medium can give people that other entertainment sources can't. Live without a net, the idea that people are on long enough, is enough times a week to make you feel like they know them, which is the gift of how to be successful in this business, is you have to share enough of yourself that people feel like they know you. So if something happens, they want to hear your opinion on it. If they know something happened in your life, they want to know about you. And that's why radio might be screwed a little bit, because after this generation of broadcasters, like take this station, for instance, like after the OGs of this station are gone, who's coming? And that's no insult to anyone else. I mean, the part-timers that have been here have been part-timers for 10 years, 15 years. Like, who's waiting in the wings? Except for, very quickly, there is a young man in the wings that I saw at Wegmans yesterday. Would anyone care to guess who he is? You'll never guess.
Matt McCarthy.
Isaac.
Oh, wow.
Hold on a second.
Hey there. It's Isaac.
You saw Isaac at Wegmans in Newton?
Yep, me and my, he doesn't go back to his school, Hofstra, until the 25th.
Oh, he's on, of course, he's on winter break, sure.
And my daughter and I were at Wegmans, and we were walking out, and I hear, "Hi, Fred." And my daughter and I both thought it was a listener, and I turn around, and it's Isaac. He's got an Army sweatshirt on and an Army baseball cap on.
Hell yeah, he does. He supports the troops.
He's interning at the Fox affiliate in New York City, because Isaac's going to be, in front of the camera.
Sure.
And
Hi, I'm Isaac.
And Isaac was loose as a goose, baby. He was not as uptight as he was when he was here.
Describe loose.
Hey there.
Describe loose as a goose.
He's like, "Hey, Fred, what's up?" And he's
Say my
like,
name.
"Hey," like he was not dressed up Isaac. He was cash army stuff Isaac.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's going to enlist after school, or after he's done with college, he's enlisting?
Yeah. He feels like he'd be doing the country a disservice if you didn't give him a little Isaac.
Hi.
Man, it's so full of energy.
Well, Isaac's hands are registered weapons, so he wouldn't even need to carry any kind of artillery.
Was it just kind of like
that's me?
A walk by? Hey, what's up? Or did you have a conversation?
Oh, I know. I'm not a maniac. I mean, I had a conversation with the kid, and I told him to come back up, and he said I would love to, and I said, Isaac, just do it. Just come back up and let me take you by the hand again.
Fantastic.
If not for a day, maybe you could teach me something, kid.
It sounds like he's doing well enough. As I was, great minds, Fred, doing well enough to maybe now the student has become the master.
Oh,
listen, I don't have the kind of ego that tells me I can't learn from Isaac.
Did you check out his basket to see what he was eating?
He only had a salad and a beverage.
Oh!
Say my name. Say my name. Isaac.
Now, why did he go to Wegmans and park and walk into Wegmans and walk around and go through a checkout line to get that stuff? I don't know.
He was getting his steps in. Just getting his steps in.
Okay, well, there's easier ways to get a salad.
That's a bit. What's in Isaac's basket? Great.
There was no basket.
My name is Isaac.
There was no bag.
Say my name.
He just had something in one hand and
Isaac.
something in the other. And then he transferred the one thing under his arm so he could shake my hand.
There's no supermarket he could have gone to. He went big.
Well, why would you go to a supermarket? I mean, you have to park and walk in.
Yep.
I mean, if you need hand soap, are you going to go to Stop and Shop or your Shaw's? Or are you going to go to, CVS where you can just walk in?
Sure.
Yeah, it depends on how much money you got to burn. You save a few bucks.
You got Isaac money.
A few bucks for the one.
Yeah, for hand soap. That's right.
That's right. at CVS, it's $15, and at the supermarket, it's $3.
So now we have something to look forward to next summer.
No, he's going to come in this month.
Oh,
he's going to be here in 10 minutes, John.
Super.
Yeah, it was a big surprise. I'm having him. I got a limo picking him up right now. All right, we'll take you through everything that happened last evening. There's still a lot of fallout with the Mayo stuff, and Robert Kraft obviously spoke yesterday. A lot going on.
Isaac Brendel, motherfucking Brendel.
Hi.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way on the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened, so change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lepresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. What's going on, Hardy?
All right, so the coaching carousel remains pretty much unchanged. We learned about Doug Peterson in Jacksonville being let go yesterday. Of course, Gerard Mayo was dismissed of his head coaching duties right after the game on Sunday. But for all the fallout that normally happens on the Monday after the last regular season game, or Black Monday, as it's called, didn't really happen. Instead, what we're learning is that maybe Mike McCarthy is going to be allowed to spread his wings a little bit. This is probably the most interesting non-development in the coaching carousel, in that he no longer is under contract with the Dallas Cowboys. They have an exclusive negotiating window right now.
Of a week.
But
Jerry's got a week to sign him.
Right. The Chicago Bears have asked permission to speak with Mike McCarthy. So, how much does Jerry Jones really like his head coach in Dallas? Will he retain Mike McCarthy's services? Are the Chicago Bears going to blow him away with an offer? What's going to happen in Dallas? The most interesting possibility with all this would have been had Bill Belichick figured out a way to make nice and go down there with Jerry Jones and have a guy who is truly in charge of that football team and be head coach down there. I think a lot of people were secretly hoping for that. That'd be interesting. A Jerry Jones, Bill Belichick combo in Dallas, but with Bill going to North Carolina, we know that's not going to happen.
Well, the two aren't mutually exclusive. I mean, he had to know that there was no way he was going to get the Cowboy job. They put feelers out to the Jets. I would have a feeling that if he was willing to do that and completely make a fool of himself.
That was the last resort.
Yeah, if he was doing that, he certainly inquired about the Cowboys.
He called Jerry, and Jerry said, no thanks. He called about 8 guys, and you found out, no, we're not interested. So then he called the Jets, who he have been crushing for the last 20 years.
That's not true. He did not call. Apparently, he did not inquire. I don't think he inquired about the Chicago job. There were teams he did not talk to. He did go out of the Jets. He didn't inquire with everyone. He did inquire with the Jets, which makes it even more odd. The only reason I bring that up is because I think it makes it more odd. But no, I think he obviously looked into the Cowboys. But Mike McCarthy can't talk, I don't believe.
1 week.
For 1 week.
Week from today, Jerry Jones has an exclusive negotiating window until a week from today. So up until that time, Dallas would have to give Chicago permission to speak to McCarthy.
And
by the way, Dallas at Chicago next season.
And what's interesting about that is it's going to force Jerry Jones's hand, because if it gets to Thursday and, this is the week, or next Tuesday, this is the week that you can talk to the Kansas City assistants and you can talk to the Detroit assistants. All of, both those teams. I mean, the number one seeds always have coaching candidates, but, the Patriots inquired about Ben Johnson yesterday. A bunch of teams inquired about Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. So, defensive and offensive coordinators for the Lions. So, if Jerry Jones, has this exclusive negotiating window with Mike McCarthy and then lets it lapse, the Bears talk to him, sign him, and then, the Kansas City and the Lions make it to the Super Bowl, and a month goes by before he could even talk to those assistants. It's a whole other thing, just like what happened with CeeDee Lamb and all that. Like, it's a whole other – and Dak Prescott.
Yeah, price goes up.
It's just – what if you lose your coach?
Yeah.
And you sat there with your penis in your hands – I was going to say Schmechter, like Felger does.
Schmenzer.
He throws around a lot of like broken Yiddish.
Mm-hmm.
But you've told me that he might be half Jewish.
Just the good half.
I don't know if Felger's half.
Karen
Jewish.
tells me you're half Jewish. Just
the good half. That's right. He's got to cover up the crucifix.
Yeah.
Or the cross, rather.
So, who does Dallas get? I mean, I think it's going to be Mike McCarthy. He said he wants to return to Dallas. I don't think it's going to get to that point, but
Dallas Morning News, and I read this to you on air yesterday, seems to think it's a foregone conclusion if something gets done this week.
Would you be all hot and bothered to rehire your head coach? He's 49-35 in the regular season, 1-3 in the playoffs.
How long did Jason Garrett have that job with a record that was worse?
Forget about that. You right now, you just took ownership of the Dallas Cowboys.
No, I wouldn't have Mike McCarthy back.
Neither would I.
Failure in the playoffs. The team, while they had injuries this year, wildly underachieved.
Yeah, 7-10.
So why would I bring that guy back?
I'll tell you why. It saves you the embarrassment of not getting one of the leading candidates who would turn you down. That's what I don't think Ben Johnson in a million years would take that job. I don't think Aaron Glenn would take that job. I think if you're a hot crap coordinator, you're not taking the Cowboys job because you're completely at the mercy of Jerry Jones. He's controlling everything above you. Mm-hmm. He's controlling everything.
He's walking down and holding press conferences right outside your locker room.
Yeah,
games.
As much as the Cowboys are, a blue blood franchise and the big thing in the NFL, I don't think that people would want to work for Jerry Jones. Real hotshot candidates. And outside of Parcells, who was the last real hotshot candidate that they had? Like a guy that was someone that everyone wanted. And I think McCarthy's a good coach. Orlovsky says he's not. His offense is antiquated, which would be a very difficult fix for him to bring in an offensive coordinator.
Right. Here in Foxborough, we're going to be going over Robert Kraft's press conference and his statement, which was very brief, but then took questions for about 15 minutes and had some interesting things to say there. But there was some player availability yesterday, including Dietrich Wise, who had this to say in a back and forth with Mike Giardi.
We failed him, Maybe he failed us, but we failed him too as players.
What do you mean by that?
Just in terms of how do you feel about the fact that it was a one-and-done situation for him and players and the responsibility that I'm sure you guys feel like we didn't play well enough.
I don't think anybody here feels that way. We all put our best foot out there. We all gave it our all every single time. Everything we want to do, we did it with the mind and goal set to win, and that's kind of our mindset.
Did not like the notion that the players somehow failed Gerard Mayo.
What? Well,
it's a fascinating dynamic, the two of them, because Dietrich Wise is one of those guys that the Patriots make sure hits the podium because he's all about the team. He's always pro-team. Giardi is the polar opposite of that. He is, as we well know, Mr. Negativity, Mr. Go After People. So to have the two of them speak is quite amazing on a day like that. You got the predicted response.
Right.
The predicted interaction between the two of them.
And Dietrich Wise was surprised that the head coach was let go.
Very difficult. Everybody, as I told the guys before, I told them all that it was a sad day. Nobody wanted to see him leave. We didn't know he was fired into it right after the game, and then it was very shocking news.
And that is the story out of Foxborough, that Mayo didn't know before the game. He didn't speak to anybody. And as we're going to find out later on, that Robert Kraft did not speak to Mayo going into the final regular season game about what's the game plan here? What are we trying to accomplish here in week 18 with, all that hinges on a win or a loss? Nope, it was all one big surprise. Thought they were just going out to play another football game, and then everything that happened afterward, big shock.
Okay.
It's tough to buy.
All right.
It's all tough to buy.
There's no make a call. We already know the business is a business. This is how the NFL is. This is the dark side of football. So,
yes.
Yeah, as long as Dietrich Wise's skills do not erode, he will be here for a very long time. He is a company man all the way down the line. Good for him.
But I think
he's
it's okay.
The defensive version of Hunter Henry. Good for him.
It's fine to take some personal accountability when you're asked point blank, did you fail him? Said, yeah, we failed ourselves. We failed him. We failed the fans. Failed everybody. I mean, look at the record. Look what we did. Trying our best is one thing. No one's accusing you of not trying. But did you do it? No, you didn't do it. So you failed. Had you played better, the coach should still be here. It's not all on the coach. We know this. This happens with virtually every firing, with every player that's let go. Maybe with certain players, you can say it's 100% completely on him. But there's a breakdown between coaching and personnel and actual performance on the field that leads to stuff like this. No, I don't feel that way. We didn't fail them. We didn't fail ourselves. We tried hard. No one's saying you didn't try hard, Dietrich. Did you fail your coach and everyone else in the way you guys performed this year, specifically on the defense? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, significantly worse than last year with a lot of the same guys.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that was what took place there in Foxborough. David Andrews also spoke. Christian Gonzalez said he learned about the he learned about Gerard Mayo's firing in an interesting way.
When did I find out? Yesterday. Just like everybody else. No, I had just seen it on social media.
Oh.
Same with Joe Milton. They asked Joe Milton when did you find out, and he said literally the same time you guys did, which is not good. None of this is good. None of this, and I'm not playing sports talk radio. None of this is good.
Mayo never met with his team to tell him.
No, which is, I guess, fairly unheard of.
Yeah.
They just had personnel people come in, or, team representatives come in and do I guess that the reason they don't fire you until the night after the last game is because they give you the opportunity to go in and address the team after you coached them all year. Obviously, you've built relationships and things of that nature, and you go ahead and do that. What harm is there in that? And then you go and then, you meet with them the next morning or something like that. Maybe Kraft thought he was doing him a favor, but I think more likely he was just trying to PR the thing into just look, we did it right away. And then so he didn't have to deal with the whole, 12 hours of it.
There has to be part of him. I mean, he's gone on and on about being the biggest fan of this team first. There has to be a part of him that just was so pissed off sitting in that box. He figured it out during the game. All right, I'm going to do this. I can't stand this anymore. Went downstairs and didn't get there fast enough for his liking. And Gerard did all his press conferences, did all his media, and then went back there. And Kraft was like, I've had it. You're done.
Okay, well, that's not
wise.
Reason.
No, it's not wise. It's not a good reason, but it's certainly the timing of it seems to sync up with that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you that's not what happened. No. All right, listen, we have to break. When we come back, we will continue to catch up with everything that happened last night. As the NFL, not as many coaching openings so far as many people thought, which is good news for the Patriots, I suppose, as they've inquired about Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson is going to interview with the team this week. And Bert Breer says that means that Ben Johnson's at least a little bit interested. Some people think the Patriots' job's the best job because of Drake May. That I'm not so positive about, but okay. They would know more than me. All right, here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
We were just talking about this. Robert Kraft spoke to the media yesterday and not only took full blame for the firing of Gerard Mayo, he added he will move quickly to find a replacement head coach for the Patriots. Patriots have asked for and gotten permission to speak to Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. Bruins have lost 4 in a row. They're back home tonight to play Edmonton. Ryan Johnson and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And after that one is done, we will whisk you out to Denver for the Celtics and the Denver Nuggets. Granding and Max will have the call here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Jason Tatum yesterday voted the Eastern Conference's Player of the Week. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 15% off your drive-through oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, now open in Franklin, Billerica, and Peabody. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7 o'clock.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Known as Mr. Fun.
Dutcher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
A little bit of trouble watching Kevin Spacey now, and I still like watching Kevin Spacey movies, but when he's especially smarmy like he is in Baby Driver, I'm like, oh, that's not all acting.
See, I have no problem with that. Like, I can still watch The Cosby Show. It's not very good, but I could still appreciate Bill Cosby as a stand-up comedian. I think that's completely ridiculous when people with someone like that are like, well, I can't watch his stand-up anymore. Well, like, it exists. Like, it happened.
But it's more fun to watch Kevin Spacey play like somebody who is, let's just say, there's questionable, morals and ethics, because you think it's all an act. It's like, wow, he's a really good actor, and then come to find out, oh, that might just be him.
Mm-hmm. Well,
maybe he's not acting. It doesn't make it as much fun to watch.
Well, if you've noticed, none of this is stuck on him. Like, for whatever you might think, none of this is. I don't believe he's lost any legal case, not only criminally, but also I don't think he's lost any civil cases.
Yeah, that Martha's Vineyard thing went away, did it not?
Yeah,
I believe it did. So,
and I don't, and
people he knows are starting to finally come out and support him. But I will tell you this: I occasionally will go to crack.com. It's it's not rocket science, but they did 5 commercials that, in retrospect, seem really strange. And there was one where Kevin Spacey's playing up he's being Kevin Spacey. I can't remember what he's advertising, but he's playing up the weird swarmy guy in it.
Yeah.
And it's him like looking directly at the camera as himself, and it does not go well. But there are so many commercials for like Diddy's vodka and Diddy stuff where he's talking about how inappropriate his parties are. Like, there's a ton of them. You could do a jump cut 15-minute thing of him on talk shows talking about how inappropriate his parties are. Like, coming right out and saying it. Like, if you're not ready for one of my parties, you best not show up. I got the kind of parties where the cops come and would break them up. Like, he's just coming out and talking about how wild his parties are.
I got Homeland Security showing up at my parties.
Yeah, I got 20,000 gallons of lube for no reason because none of the women I know can create natural wetness.
But you say nothing's really stuck to Kevin Spacey. Legally, no. When's the last time you saw Kevin Spacey in a movie?
My point is, it's not necessarily fair, because if nothing stuck civilly or criminally, which I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'm pretty certain that nothing did, then why are we to assume that like all of it's true or any of it's true? I just don't. I think that because someone's a celebrity, they're an easier target, and that sometimes if it goes through the judicial process, and as you know, civil trials aren't hard. It doesn't have to be without a reasonable doubt. It just has to be you're more than half sure, basically, that they did it. Like OJ was found guilty in all those civil trials. It just seems to me like, if he went and represented himself in court and it was argued sufficiently that there was no case there, that maybe he didn't really do anything.
Yeah,
that bad.
If they decide though that having him in a movie is going to make people feel oogie,
no, I know,
we just won't put him in the movie.
I just said that that's not necessarily fair though, and I think that him being a closeted gay guy didn't do him any favors either.
No.
I think that opens up a whole can of worms because you were. Because of the social stigma of it living a secret life, and then people know that they have something on you. This is all just a what-if scenario. I'll have to do more research into Kevin Spacey, but I don't necessarily think that if a guy's been through, 6-7 years of legal processes and he's never been found to be guilty of anything, that we should just necessarily assume he was this absolute horrible demon, that he was this perennial serial, criminal. I don't know if that's the case.
Getting some comments about what the lube was for at Diddy's parties. Thank you, Matthew. I can't read that, but yeah, I appreciate it. Let's just say it wasn't necessarily for the things that you implied, maybe, Fred.
Yeah.
I could make a joke right here and other ways you could do it, but
yeah,
I won't do that.
Okay.
I don't think that would go over well.
How about this? Stephen A. Smith on Gerard Mayo's firing. Stephen A.?
That's what this is about. This is about Mike Vrabel. That's who they wanted. No question about it. And he's a more seasoned, more experienced coach. I don't like this. They call it Black Friday for, Black Monday rather for a reason. This certainly typifies it. I don't know why it's not called White Monday. Doug Peterson got fired from Jacksonville. He deserved that firing.
White is good. Black is bad. Bad is black. Must have been a white guy that started all that.
Public Enemy.
Nope.
That's not Public Enemy?
Nope.
Who is it?
Third base. Give him the gas face.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gas face. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Did Stephen A. really say it should be called White Monday because Doug Peterson got fired and he is white? Does he honestly think it's called Black Monday because black coaches get fired?
I think he says that he's making the point that bad is black, black is bad.
Yeah, that's
that we associate as a country with black being bad. And I'm going to paint the White House black. As much as I can tell.
But if you're profitable, you're in the black.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Well, I mean, that's ideal.
Yep. It is, but
I'll tell you this, is that as much as I can tell the black guy, their own struggles that they go through, I don't know if it would have helped Gerard Mayo if he was white. I don't know if that would have helped him.
No.
So
No.
I will disagree with Stephen A. Smith. He would know far more about it than I, but I don't think that Kraft is at least. I don't think that decision was based on skin color. I don't think he would have hired him anyway. I don't think he just hired him to fire him.
It's black head coaches and white head coaches are both one and done over the last decade. Nathaniel Hackett, for example, in Denver, a one and done head coach. Frank Reich in Carolina.
I will tell you this, is that if they don't hire Vrabel, a lot of people are going to look really dumb. If they don't hire Vrabel, just the media, like that, it's just being assumed that they're hiring Mike Vrabel, and if they don't hire him, it's going to be pretty stupid. Because everyone was wrong. And again, I look forward to being educated by the experts on why Mike Vrabel is such a slam dunk choice as we proceed through. Andrew Callahan will be on today. We can ask him about why Mike Vrabel is such a slam dunk choice. We can ask about all of that because Mike Vrabel has experience. He wasn't a coach for 30 years, but he has experience. Some of it good, some of it bad. Some of it very mediocre. And he took over a 9-7 team, a team that had been 9-7 for 2 years, and they were 9-7 2 years with him. He didn't improve the team right when he got it. You know who else was like that? Was the coach before Patricia in Detroit, Jim Caldwell.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Caldwell was a good coach, and he got fired being 9-7, and then they hired Patricia, and it all went to the crapper. All right, so when we come back, Robert Kraft had a press conference, and we will start investigating what he had to say. He comes out with like a little gentleman. He comes out, and every time he wears like the blue sport coat with the kerchief, like the little thing in the pocket square.
Yeah.
He always looks like a little gentleman to me. Like a little gentleman. Look at the little gentleman.
Oh, look at him with his long pants on today.
Yeah, he's all dressed up. He's all dressed up for the big press conference. All right, we'll
Kind of like Isaac when he comes in here.
Oh, Isaac. It was so good to see him yesterday. All right, we'll be right back. live and then throughout the day at 98.5. Go to YouTube and search 98.5 The Sports Up. And then smash that subscribe button. Then we're part of your algorithm. And videos from 15 years ago will come up. All right, Hardy. Robert Kraft addressed the media. He was dressed in his finest Patriot blue sport coat with a nice red pocket square.
He's got a bit of an Einstein thing going on. I don't think he has to think a whole lot about what he's going to wear from day to day. It's a pretty similar outfit.
Well, it reminds him of his youth in the Greaser Gang, where he would sit around the boom, 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 the trash can while it was on fire in his leather jacket. He just had to put on his leathers.
That's right. That might be a nice background to this.
I'm going to be very brief here and say this whole situation is on me. I feel terrible for Gerard because I put him in an untenable situation. I know that he has all the tools as a head coach to be successful in this league. He just needed more time before taking the job. In the end, I'm a fan of this team first, and now I have to go out and find a coach who can get us back to the playoffs and hopefully championships. We're open for questions.
That was it. About 45 seconds of a statement, and the rest of the 15 minutes or so of the press conference yesterday was all questions and answers about the end of the season and what is going to happen going forward.
Now you four corners go.
So the first thing
they Poindexter you first.
Boom, boom, boom.
So the first
thing...
thing...
walk down the street and get some elbow feels.
Anyone want to race for pink slips?
Yes, he feels terrible, and that he feels that he put him in an untenable situation. Pretty much the things that we said yesterday and for maybe a week or so going in, that there was no way. There was no way he was going to be able to succeed.
No, this was
without being automatically much better at this job than really anyone thought he was going to be.
Well, no, but there was no way that was going to happen. Kraft really screwed up and put him in a situation where he couldn't succeed. They gave him a terrible roster, but that's not even it, because you can develop a terrible roster. They put him in a position with no one with experience around him where no one knew how to do this. No one had done it before. There was no one to guide him through the process. They gave a guy with no experience and no real idea how to do it, and then they surrounded him with other guys that had never done it before, and then it was just never going to work. And if it was a matter of like improving, and I don't know what they saw. There's a lot of speculation. There was stuff behind the scenes, but I mean, if his minor foibles with the media were enough to get him fired, I mean, none of this. It's like, what did you want the guy to do? Like, be perfect? None of it made sense. He didn't stand a chance. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, it's a fundamental flaw that Kraft had in assembling his coaching staff and his power structure. He mentioned it when he hired Gerard Mayo in the first place. He rewards loyalty. All of his other businesses, he likes to promote from within, and that's fine. But in sports, you need people who know immediately what they're doing. When they step into a job like this, you have to have a good support structure in place. Like you were just saying, I'm repeating what you just said. I apologize. But he ran his professional sports franchise like he did the rest of his businesses, and he's been very successful doing so. But this is, we found out very quickly, a much different animal. You can't do that here.
So what are they going to do for the next head coach? Who is going to be in on the process? Will Elliot Wolf be a part of this process?
Well, we'll have Alonzo Highsmith and Elliot will be involved, and we're going to try to understand who can help us best get back to the playoffs.
Elliot will be involved. Alonzo Highsmith, senior personnel.
They brought
executive.
him in to change the way that they grade college players, to change the way they value different skills in college players.
Yeah.
He was a good college player.
Yes, Miami. Played for the U.
What about going forward? He said Elliot will be involved. Is he going to be here?
Robert, Does that mean Elliott and his staff are going to continue on, or will the coaching hire also impact your front office?
No, we are looking for people working together, and they will be staying on.
It's collaborative. We heard that a lot a year ago. We're going to collaborate.
Again, we talked about it yesterday.
Well.
They put all this into the draft. You can't just fire everyone before the draft. You can't do it. You could fire your GM before the draft, but you can't get rid of everyone in the building before the draft. They've been working all year on the draft, and you can't just kick everyone out and go, you're on your own. And unless they hire an outside consulting firm like the Jets did, do you really want Jonathan and Robert Kraft being the only guys to interview the coach, and the GM, like what happened the last time?
I hope the Patriots put one guy in charge. Elliott Wolf was kind of in charge, but not really. Coach, everyone was collaborating with everyone to make the better. You need one guy. You need one guy that everyone answers to, saying, we're doing this.
We know what they need to do. Well, first of all, they need to name a GM and an actual title of general manager. But they also need a guy to create the structure required, because everything that we've heard is, I've repeated again, that this is an antiquated system that is run unlike any other of the 31 NFL teams. It's a bare bones operation by design from Bill Belichick. It wasn't working for him anymore, and it's obviously not working now. So they have to figure out a way to build out the front office, to build out the coaching resources, to build out strength and conditioning, to build out nutrition, to do everything that is required of them.
Call it what you want. GM's a great title.
Family area. Gotta have that family area built up.
Weight room, get every. But
joke about the family area, but that was an easy fix.
Yeah,
that was something that there was such a lack of communication that they didn't know their players were pissed about it. I mean, you got a $10 billion entity and you can't build a $50,000 family area,
a ball pit.
Exactly. That's you could joke about that, but I don't think that's a joke. Like, there were easy fixes to make lives for the players better that they were unaware of. I don't think the Krafts went, we're not spending $50,000. I just don't think there was any communication, that they had no idea what was going on, which shows just how this organization really needs to be filled out. As much as some Patriots fans that seem to upset, these are guys that have. Bert went and talked to every NFL team. He did a piece where he talked to every NFL team about how they're run. And when he talked about the Patriots, they went, and it was when Belichick was still around. They're like, I don't know how Belichick does it. He's doing 16 jobs. Because Belichick, by design, kept it very intimate and small, because he didn't want to, he's a weirdo that didn't want to, in his mind, give up any kind of power, which is ultimately, eventually going to bite you.
So, who is in the running to be head coach?
We want to interview as many people as we can that we think can help us get to that position that we want to be in. So we have put out and requests, and Stacy will be filling you in on that.
Okay.
We're looking for guys that can fight with fists and chains. You dictate the rules. It doesn't matter to us. This
What about
rumble.
He was sick all day. He
Pony Boy,
played
real
it up.
pussy.
What? He was sick, Fred. He had a fever.
Nah, he just let those guys drown him in the fountain. He wasn't really fighting back. His friend took his friend stabbing one of them sons of bitches.
Oh, hold on a second. Pony Boy let those guys drown him in the fountain? What was he supposed to do?
Pull his blade.
I don't know if he had one. Johnny had a blade.
Why was he not holding
one.
Pony Boy knew he was susceptible to the socias. He should have been carrying a blade.
He ended up in the park in the middle of the night because he went home and Derry pushed him, and he felt bad, and he ran outside.
I know, and that tortured Derry. Derry felt responsible for that. He talked to Pony Boy after. Soda Pop was the good one.
He was. It
seems to be the talk.
Before I make a comment like that, I don't know all the people involved. There are some wonderful people that we've heard about, so I'd rather respond to that after I've seen everyone.
And yes.
So you're going to be talking to two minorities and then hire Mike Vrabel. Is essentially what you're saying. The Rooney Rule will take place.
Yeah, the Rooney Rule will be in effect, and they will go through the process. And Mike Vrabel's at this point the far and away the favorite to land that job. So say what you will about the Rooney Rule, but there is a very small pool of candidates out there when who's actually qualified to do this job. How many people can take over as head coach of a football team starting tomorrow?
Well, there's a lot. But there's not a lot that, I mean, there are guys who've done it before that are having success right now as coordinators, but I mean, if they feel that they're really limiting themselves if it has to be a guy that has had head coaching experience before. But if they want Mike Vrabel, that's fine. And I heard one of the ESPN guys, it might have been Stephen A. Smith, saying Mike Vrabel is, if not one, but two on everyone's coaching list behind Ben Johnson. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true at all, because then why didn't he get a job last year? I just think that everyone's really convinced themselves, and it's just this critical mass that Mike Vrabel is far and away this elite coaching candidate. And I'm not positive that's true. I think he's a good coaching candidate and certainly could have success and has had success before. But if you're looking at this crop of candidates, I don't know if he's better. And I'll ask you this.
Cliff Kingsbury, Brian Flores.
Well, how about Matt Nagy, who was a coach in Chicago and had success in Chicago, and now has been the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator? Why is Matt Nagy such a worse candidate than Mike Vrabel? I know Vrabel played here and was great.
It's the relationship.
Yeah, I know, but that's for Kraft. I don't know why the media. Again, I need to be educated because it's people pontificating on how coordinators would be as coaches that have never coached before is annoying me, because I know from my own thing they're just guessing. And they don't know. They're just saying. This whole idea that Ben Johnson is going to be this home run can't miss coach is nonsense. A fan or a guy that covers every sport, like a talking head that has to talk about every sport, they don't know anything about Ben Johnson. They never met him. Apparently, Ben Johnson's super weird.
But you can
play and can't interview. But let me get to that, though. Ben Johnson is according to reports from teams, a very bizarre interview and a bizarre guy. Oh. And so, in the way he walked away from the Commander's job and they had to scramble to hire a coach, he's like kind of a weird dude. So I'm a little fascinated. You'll hear callers call it and go like, you know what, the Giants should fire Daboll and hire Ben Johnson. How is Ben Johnson any better candidate than Brian Daboll? Brian Daboll was a big hot crap coordinator. He was considered a genius coordinator, and now you want to run him out of town because Ben Johnson is a better head coach. Ben Johnson, we know, is an innovative offensive mind and gets a great deal out of that team and has turned Jared Goff's career around. He hasn't been an offensive coordinator for very long, and also we have no idea how he relates to players. We have no idea if he knows how to run a structure, if he knows how to oversee something like that.
That's why in this crop of candidates, well, if you're going to compare Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel not only is a more natural fit with this team, he has experience where Ben Johnson doesn't. And he has made an AFC championship game as a head coach.
But on the other
side, that's why Vrabel is more of a candidate for this team, who just fired a first-year head coach, than any other.
But on the other side of the coin, the way the thing is, the NFL is now, do you want to bring in an offensive mind as your head coach because you see the success they've had?
If it's the right offensive mind, yes.
Right. So there's many, many variables to this.
See, and you talk about whether you know or not a coordinator is going to make a good head coach and how it's all speculation. You can play that out to guys who have coached before. And we assume, like for Mike Vrabel, since he did a decent job, even if you're going to be critical of the way things ended there in Tennessee. Okay. Or started. All right, but he's done it, so he can do it. I don't know that he can. We all thought Bill Belichick was the greatest head coach in history, and while he's got the track record to back that up, the last few years here in New England, forget about his football knowledge. Forget about his acumen and how he knows how to put together a program. But how did it translate onto the field? What did it actually manifest? Nothing.
My point is this.
I mean, so even when you know a guy's a good head coach, it doesn't mean he's going to make for a good head coach.
My point is this, is that this speculation is if everyone knows. I need to be told by people in the know what's going on. This blind... Vrabel's the number 1 or 2 head coaching candidate. Well, he wasn't last year. Why is he this year? What's changed? His work with Cleveland, the tremendous Cleveland team that he skillfully helped maneuver around the field this year. Like I need to be educated a little bit more. Because I know a lot of this is non-educated guessing from the media, but there are people in the media that know. And the guys that cover football for a living and talk to NFL teams for a living, they know.
Andrew Callahan, he'll know.
Well, he'll have a more informed opinion about than really, some guy on First Take.
No, he's going to sit here and tell us exactly what we need to know.
All right. Well, there's someone who's going to tell us exactly what we need to do because they have a personal relationship with one of the candidates that's out there that could be taking over for Elliott Wolf. There's someone that we know.
See,
this is my point.
You want to learn from an expert.
Yeah, and so we have an expert coming in to tell us about a particular GM candidate that's getting a lot of noise around the Patriots because they went to high school with them.
Oh.
Who's the expert?
You'll find out.
Oh!
You don't need to know now.
That's a tease, ladies and gentlemen. That's a tease.
They'll be in studio in just a second.
90 minutes of the game coming to a conclusion, he was gone. Statement admitting we made a mistake. What they describe in the statement and didn't want to lose him.
Right.
I believe that was absolutely a factor in this. But their personal relationship played the biggest role in that. You couldn't fathom losing a guy that you had such a close relationship with to another team.
Dulac and Bertrand. Weekday mornings at 10 on the Sports Hub.
It's called rising and grinding.
Start your
Got your finger on the pulse, Fred. Seldom right and never wrong.
right here. Is that Dutcher or is that Hardy?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
People want to know.
All right, so we are Toucher and Hardy. Boston Calling, the big music festival, returns this Memorial Day weekend. De La Soul are not playing. But Luke Combs is. Do you know who Luke Combs is?
Country gentleman.
Yes. Well, I figured that much. But, you know, he's you keep it in the back pocket like Robert Kraft.
Comb. I got you.
Yeah. Go up to the mirror and go, hey, I don't need to touch your hair. Fall Out Boy?
I don't mind the Fallout Boy. There's a couple of songs.
The Dave Matthews Band?
Went to one Dave Matthews Band show to see Willie Nelson opening up at Fenway Park and left before Dave took the stage.
Do you remember when?
How's that?
Do you remember the guy that
Legit.
worked in the old building in Brighton that had all the Dave Matthews tattoos?
That would be Callie.
Callie loved Dave Matthews.
No one loves Dave Matthews Band more than Callie.
I walked back to, was it BCN at the time or Sports Hub?
It was BCN when Callie was around.
Yeah. I can't remember when that show was, but the show was at Fenway, and this was like, I think pre-rideshare stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I had gotten a ride in a station vehicle down there. I said, how far is it to walk back to the radio station? Now, you know, it wasn't on Boylston anymore, obviously, because it was right there. But you had to go walk back to Brighton. It took me like 40 minutes. It was like less than a 3-mile walk. I'm like, you could have been walking to Fenway the whole time from over there.
A Vampire Weekend
Yeah.
and more.
No.
Make sure you're listening to the show this week for your chance to score a pair of wristbands before they go on sale. That's Big Boston Calling. You know, Adam 12 is a part of that whole process.
I enjoy the music festival every year. Yes, I will be attending.
That
this
is
year
what
as well.
that is one of the best run festivals I've ever attended. It's really, and you would think a festival. You can't drive to it. It makes it so much better.
So much better.
It makes it so much better.
Well,
figure it out, and hundreds of thousands of people figure it out, and it's great.
Well, the Spin Doctors weren't going to play, and the Spin Doctors are playing Boston Calling.
They are playing on Sunday, yes.
But
sir.
Adam knows when they're playing on Sunday because the Spin Doctors were very much on the fence. The tall, gangly guy was like, I don't know if I want to play this Boston Calling. He's like,
he had his winter hat on with the strings on the side.
Yeah, and he's like, I went to college in upstate New York. He's
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I want to do this. And Adam went, I'll take it from here, fellas. And he just came back and flopped the contract on the table and was like, you're welcome.
They're going to need $2,500 and some Chipotle vouchers, but they'll be here.
That's right.
No, Adam got him. Adam ran into the singer at one of those free spaghetti dinners at a local church. And he was like, hey, you want to play? And the guy's like, I can do it. You got a PA? And he's like, I got it. All right. So listen, are the Patriots going to fire Elliott Wolf? That is a big question that's going on. And I've been talking about this, and I mean it sincerely. Having done this long enough, I know when there's very uneducated guessing going on and statements being made as fact when they are not indeed fact at all. And so I don't know enough about Mike Vrabel to know if you should turn your entire organization over to him. I'm willing to be taught about that, but that's obvious. I mean, Vrabel coached in the NFL.
And you could at least have an opinion about a head coach, but when it comes to the GM conversation, who knows, Fred?
Right, and that's the more important position, really. And so when these names, Alec Hallaby, we know Louis Reddick from television, but Ray Farmer, Trey Brown,
Right.
we don't like who are these guys? You know,
Don't
like
know.
what do we know about them? Even if you
don't
know
know.
where they're assistant GMing or whatever,
Right.
you don't know anything about them. That's why when there's a name that comes up, who's the hottest name of all the potential general managers, that is when you have to go to an expert. And it just so happens the hottest, and without any hyperbole, the hottest GM candidate, local guy from the town of Everett, Mike Borgonzi. He is the longtime assistant GM for the Kansas City Chiefs. But we don't know anyone in Kansas City except for Johnny Dare. And he's got his own show to do. So who do we talk to? Man who played football at Everett High, where Mike Borgonzi sharpened his teeth. A man who even scored a touchdown at Everett High. How do I know?
Thanksgiving.
How do I know? He brought in a video without being asked. Maybe his second day on the air. He was a tight end at Everett High. His name, man by name of Bird.
Hey, guys, hey. How's it going?
Bird, what's been going on?
I left Easy Disposal. I'm working at Everett High School now, full-time. And
As what?
Production assistant. I work at the EHS TV studios.
Full-time?
Yes.
Is it like a salaried gig?
Yes.
Really? And you get tenure?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a pension?
Yes, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, Bird.
I have Roth IRA accounts, but okay.
He does. He has Roth IRA accounts.
Well, you could get a Roth IRA without having
Without
a
a
government job, or
Don't-
without having a job at all.
Don't cloud the issue.
No, you need a job actually to get a Roth IRA, but you don't. But because I try to get them for my kids.
The
You have to
man
get
has a
job.
full-time job right there.
All right, so how'd you get that gig in education? By the way, the Dude and Bird podcast was a podcast with Bird and his friend Dude, and we used to make fun of it. Dude is now a college professor, and Bird is a high school teacher.
I know.
So you're teaching kids. You have
Here
to
and there.
be.
Yeah, here and there, yes.
Well, then
yes.
what's your job if you're not teaching the kids?
So basically, I'm doing what Nick's doing in the studio, cutting the YouTube clips and all that fun stuff when we do basketball, football, hockey, and all the sports. So on sports-wise, I tell the kids all the time, I'm like, I don't want to announce these games. I want to help you guys announce these games. But no one's stepping up to the plate, so me and this guy Josh are doing it, my boss.
I wondered why my daughter only has art class twice a week and gym twice a week, and now I know. They're investing all their resources into the guy who's doing the production for the current teams. Interesting, Bird. So how'd you get into this?
So I've been working at Everett High part-time since I graduated college, and this kid Josh I played football with and grew up with, and he basically started in like 2013. So I've been working there since, like I said, 04. So he got in 2013, and people come and go and leave. And this past October,
Enough people left that they needed you.
Yeah, in October 2023, oh no, it wasn't. Well, no, this October, he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, we're hiring. Do you want in?" I'm like, "Yes." And so I just went to the website, and there was the position, and I filled it out, and I got an interview and all that fun stuff.
So
He
this
didn't
was
directly tell me,
this was
but
the place you were already employed. You were already on the books there.
Yeah,
so
part-time.
Were there additional
Freelance.
Corey reports and things that had to be investigated in order for you to be a full-time employee at a school?
No, nothing crazy like that.
Oh, he obviously had to fill a Corey report out. You have to do to coach you sports. You filled a Corey report.
Yeah,
you would have no
I
problem
haven't-
with that.
I would. No, I would absolutely coach Everett High.
Yeah, that's
No,
my
I don't
point.
need. I didn't
That
sign.
was
I
the
didn't sign a
question.
Corey. I didn't sign a Corey.
Does that
No, I
answer your
didn't. I
question?
didn't sign a Corey. No.
I think you
I'm not
probably
teaching.
did.
I'm not teaching though. I'm teaching.
Are
like,
you
no.
involved with the students? Like, are you in the same? Like, do you
So,
travel
we're
with
not
them and
teaching-
stuff?
We're not teaching. I'm not teaching the kids. I'm basically just like
Well,
in
that's
studio.
obvious.
I'm in studio just cutting up like games, like plays and all that fun stuff.
Okay, but
I'm
you're
going-
not. Are you in the school while they're in there?
Yes.
And you interact with the students.
No, not just the kids who I'm involved with. That's it. I don't like walk around the. Hey.
Well, I coach
they
a,
students?
I coach a team with 8 girls on it. I had to fill out a Corey form. I have a feeling that
I probably will. I will have to probably.
Well,
yes.
it's good that they haven't really pushed that issue. I know you'd pass it. That's not the point. It was just Hardy was making an idle conversation thing, and you really went against it. I just think that you probably needed to do that. But that's great news for you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and so you enjoy that. This
Yes.
is because you've always been doing that. I've watched you broadcast the games.
Yep.
You're very good at it, but here's why you're in here.
Oh, boy.
Now that is there any, I mean, you talk about like Harvard and like being in the skulls and how that Harvard's giving you a bunch of presidents and the networking that involves there.
Right.
Everett High's not far behind. I mean, you play football at Everett High, you're in for life. And that is the case with Mike Borgonzi, arguably the top general manager candidate in the cycle, the current assistant GM for the reigning back-to-back Super Bowl Kansas City Chiefs. Borgonzi has been with Kansas City for nearly 2 decades and is the right-hand man to general manager Brett Veach. He was with Vrabel in Kansas City for 2 years when Vrabel was there. But that's all top-line resume stuff. I want to know about the man behind the title.
Oh, boy.
Bird, tell us about Mike Borgonzi.
He graduated Everett High in 98. He went to Brown University, graduated all scholastic, all that fun stuff. He went in the corporate
Are you
world.
looking at your phone?
Yes, for the notes.
Did you Wikipedia it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I talked to a friend of a family member.
Oh, all right. I like this.
That's how you get the information. Thank God.
All right, I like
That's what
that.
they do on election night.
All right, so he absolutely. So he went to Brown.
Yes.
And that is what kind of school?
Ivy League.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
not one of the good ones, but yes. Go ahead.
No grades.
It's Cornell's the last, and then Brown. All right, go ahead.
And then he got into the corporate world after he graduated from Brown, and then he got into becoming a BC recruiter. I don't know how he got that job, but he was a BC recruiter for a long time. Then he got a job at Kansas City, working his like a bottom end job at Kansas City Chiefs, and then he just worked his way up, and here we are today.
Okay, go ahead.
He graduated in 98. When did you graduate?
2000.
Okay, so you knew him in high school?
I didn't like.
You are sweating so much. Why are you sweating so much?
I don't know. I took this seriously for some reason.
Can we get him can we get Bert a towel? Of
Your
some kind,
head
or a paper
is
towel?
red.
Yeah, no. It's not only red. It's
Not even joking.
visibly like viscous. Like there is, dude. Your head is. This Bird shaves his head.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
did last night.
It's the sweatiest he's ever been in here.
The only time I've ever seen him like this is when we had that
Becky Lynch.
Yeah, no, not Becky Lynch. You had to describe a slew banger to someone who you had called a slew banger before. Remember that we had? She works for Barstool now. In New York. I forget her name.
All right, but remember when Becky Lynch was in here, the flirtation she was having with me was really something to behold. You can find that at Fred Toucher on Instagram. So, if you're watching on YouTube, try not to be distracted by the visceral sweat. Nick, if you could please focus on the the sweat.
It's not that bad.
Oh no, Bert, it's bad. It's
like
bad.
a pull up there.
Yes,
Oh,
I'm not
nice
joking.
little leak.
You're glistening. You're over glistening. All right, so you guys matriculated at the same time. Tell me, bully nerd?
Nerd.
Really?
He's a So when he was playing football, he was like all in, like all like. What's
But was he any good, or was he one of these
No, he
hard-ons?
was really good. No.
Okay.
No. He was like a.
Did he
quiet
play
assassin.
Brown?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He played baseball too.
Ooh. Two-sport athlete.
Yes, he was.
Okay, and so were you on the Everett freshman team when he was a senior?
He was a junior.
Okay, and he was on varsity.
So freshmen were not allowed to hit the JVs or varsities.
Obviously.
And when I came into my sophomore year, I go, oh man, I'm gonna have to hit him and like a few other guys. I'm gonna play scrub defense and scrub. Oh, he's a linebacker and a fullback, and I'm a D end at the time and tight end, and he's gonna destroy me. I remember a handful of times where he absolutely demolished me.
Was it mean?
No, it's all competitive. He's a very competitive person. Like
overly competitive?
I think right there at the line. Fine, there's a fine line. He wasn't overly competitive.
Did he ever cross the line?
Oh yeah, he scored several times. Touchdowns, that is.
Touche. Was he sexually active in high school,
I have
Bird?
no idea.
Did he get a lot of girls?
He had a girlfriend. At the time.
Oh. Do you think they were having sex?
Probably.
Well, was that a big thing at Everett High? Did you get laid at Everett High?
No.
Yeah.
All the girls were like, no, I'm not touching
I only got laid once in high school.
I didn't care.
Hardy was out there getting it all the time.
Now that I'm looking back, I'm like happy that I didn't pursue half the women I wanted to because they're just like a mess right now.
Well, you couldn't have enjoyed them then if they're a mess now. That would have been a real disaster.
Yeah.
What about him as a person that you know intimately, Bird, would qualify him to be a good general manager for the Patriots?
He's focused. He's determined. He does his homework. And
was he nice to you when he was on?
Yeah.
When he was a senior and you were a sophomore.
Yeah.
Were you on varsity as a sophomore?
No.
But JV practiced against varsity on occasion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was scrub off. Like, if
Did he haze you?
No. Other kids did.
Okay, but he didn't.
No. No.
No brooms.
No.
Okay.
Other kids did, but
Pine cones?
Pine cones? No.
That's no joking matter. Did you guys travel? This is because at Country Day you did. You went to Sleeping Bear Dunes for football training. Did you guys go away for football training?
Cape Cod Sea Camp in Brewster, Massachusetts.
Okay.
I hated that place.
Could he swim?
Yes. Used to walk that beach every morning.
Hold on. Would you call him a strong swimmer?
He can handle himself in the ocean.
So he won't be intimidated by the coastal area?
No.
Yeah, he's been landlocked for a while. That's a good question.
That visit to the Dolphins, maybe not such a problem anymore.
Okay.
We've learned a lot.
Listen.
Good to see you, Bird.
Good to see you, too.
You know where my son's spring training for baseball is for his school?
Where's that?
Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Nice.
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 Yeah, you get to pay for the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, listen. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I'm ready.
Okay, so if you had to give us a grade, A, the highest, F, the lowest. Mike Borgonzi is a candidate.
B+.
Good.
Wow.
I like that.
B+.
Not over effusive.
Didn't take the Everett into account. He actually thought that one out.
Well, I like that you did research, Bird. We love having you in.
Thank you.
You do a great job. Everyone loves Bird. Bird knows everybody. In all seriousness, Bird knows everybody. And he did go to high school with Mike Borgonzi.
And his brother Dave, who's a linebacker coach for the Chicago Bears right now.
Jesus.
So he started coaching at Harvard, and then Garrett, who's the Cowboys head coach at the time.
Jason Garrett.
Yeah. He noticed him at one of these football camps around here, so he brought him on the Dallas staff, and then he went to Tampa Bay, Indianapolis, and now he's Chicago Bears linebacker coach.
Is there like a lot of guys out of Everett that like went into coaching professionally in
Not
college?
really. No, not really.
Okay.
But he'd be a great defensive coordinator if you want Bergonzi here. Him and his brother tag teaming together, coming to the Pats. What do you think of that? No? Yes? Maybe?
Where's his brother now?
Chicago Bears linebacker coach.
Yeah, I don't know if I want a guy from that,
Too many
that coaching
Borgonzis.
situation.
Can't do that.
All right, we do have to break. Bird, listen, you're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you for that inside information. We're doing our due diligence. Other shows will just sit here and yell and pontificate with no real information, but we're bringing in the insiders.
Yep.
Bird, thank you so much.
No problem. This was fun.
All right, so we will be back. Here are the headlines.
Party.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
On the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Harding, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. The Fox Sports, you don't really hear a lot about Fox Sports. They don't have a whole lot going on. But Skip Bayless is getting sued by a hairdresser because she said she's suing all of Fox Sports, but she says that that Skip Bayless offered her $1.5 million to sleep with him, which, sounds, who could argue? I mean, that's a whole thing. I mean, that's got to be true. Skip Bayless is a guy with a lot of money. And obviously, if you really want to sleep with someone, I probably started with 100,000 and then worked its way up to $1.5 million until she finally said, "Can you stop asking me for all this money to have sex with me?" I wonder if he wrote it all down. But these will all be presented to a judge, as Skip Bayless will go through all that. But as that is going on, there are other things being talked about in this lawsuit, and they involve a female employee and the allegations that she slept with management to get her job. Her name is Joy Taylor. I've never seen her before in my life.
Yeah, I have no knowledge of Joy Taylor before this whole thing and this lawsuit, which, as you said, Fred, details the Skip Bayless alleged $1.5 million offer to have sex. He also said at some point, the hairdresser said, "Skip, stop, you have a wife." Mr. Bayless responded, "Aren't you Muslim? Doesn't your dad have 3 to 4 wives?" She then replied that her father was dead, and Mr. Bayless looked taken aback. But Joy Taylor is named in it because Taylor started insulting this woman on a personal and professional level after their friendship ended. Suit also alleges that Joy Taylor mocked the English pronunciation of the woman's last name, who is of Persian descent. But now we're hearing things about Joy Taylor that maybe she had been friendly with other people there in the company. Is that
what do you get for getting your name mocked? What untold millions?
Depends. How bad did they mock it?
I mean, if they were making fun of her, because my name Toucher has had its fair share of mockery.
Mercilessly mocked.
I mean, what am I in? What do I get? I'll be keeping a close eye on this to see what I can maybe.
What do you want?
$1.5 million.
Okay.
I mean, I can't stop offering.
It's a going rate.
I just go right in 1.5.
Yeah. It's the baseline.
Take it or leave it.
Sure.
No, not baseline. I ain't budging.
Oh.
There's no negotiation. It's 1.5 million if you want to sleep with me. After all, you're my hairdresser.
So what are people saying about Joy Taylor specifically?
Well, Joy Taylor not only insulted it, but she also brought a ex-NFL player in that she was allegedly sleeping with and got them to hire him. And then she was sleeping with all of management, so they would bend to her will. Some of the management people wouldn't narc her out because they wouldn't narc out management for being sexually harassing because they were supplying cocaine to people and this, that, and the third. But what do you really want to know about this whole situation with this woman? Well, look no further than Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock, it was working at Fox for a while. He now does something else. He's talking somewhere. He doesn't get along with Stephen A. Smith. But Jason Whitlock, who factually might weigh 450 pounds, this is why he did not sleep with this Joy woman.
I kept my distance, not because I didn't like her. It's just because I knew myself. I know myself. I know what I'm capable of. And that big rack of hers that she showed off.
Excuse me?
Keep it, let it play.
Wow. Okay.
And that big rack of hers that she showed off constantly. It's just, and that peanut butter skin with that big rack. Like, Jay, keep your distance. That's going to get you into trouble.
So you might think why a big fat old guy would have his pick of women and he would have to stay away. It's because he talks like that. That's how he seduces you. I like your big rack and peanut butter skin.
Was he Was he recorded in secret? Is that why we have that audio?
No. He was referring to the funniest part of that is that he had to stay away from her because he knew if he got too close to that big rack, he would get too turned on, and he would succumb to her desperately wanting to have sex with him.
Right. That's the thing.
She somehow maneuvered around
Fall under her spell.
Fox Sports sleeping with other guys but Whitlock knew if that she was for sure going to want to move all the stuff away from his penis and get the hoist that was required to actually have the act of sex. Also being prepared, I would believe, as the woman to be firmly on top, that there would be very, very little chance of Whitlock being able to maneuver his body on top of you. That the only thing that kept him from her sleeping with him was his knowledge that it would be too much for him with that big rack of hers.
So this is him putting himself on camera during a recorded segment who said that. And what else did he have to say?
How does she get that job? How does she even get that opportunity? Because she's got a big pair of cans, and she's, according to Sheen, she's willing to let people enjoy those big cans of hers.
So that there's a lesson to all of you with big
this
cans.
This isn't AI. This actually happened. He actually said this.
Well, no. If you have big cans, that's just a lesson. Let people enjoy them.
Okay.
There's untold fortune at the end of that rainbow. But just, if you're smart like Jason Whitlock, stay away.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows he could have his choice. And thank God for the male species that Whitlock is staying away from all these women with big cans, or else there'd be no women for big cans for the rest of us.
That's right.
They'd all be so preoccupied with sleeping with Jason Whitlock, who's not handsome, but again, he's got that gift of gab. He's not handsome, but also fat. But he's got that
heavy for his height.
He's got that gift of gab. Like, hey, mind if I Brumsky those cans? Nope. I can't let myself do it.
I know myself all too well.
And once I start Brumskying those big cans, I'm going to want to have sex.
Yes.
And then where it's going to be a whole thing. Then you're going to fall in love. And then it's going to be a fatal attraction situation. Whitlock's been through this dance too many times.
I was going to motorboat them fun bags, but then I said, to thine own self be true.
Exactly. And I don't need some lady all sweating me and not letting me get on it. I mean, if I fondle those big cans, and every girl with big cans from here to Nebraska is going to want me to fondle them. So thank God Whitlock has that self-control and that he knows himself. Because
he's a good person.
But him and I shared the same proclivity for peanut butter skin.
Never heard that. Never heard them referred to as a pair of cans, nor have I heard the term peanut butter skin.
Well, sometimes you refer to leprosy as chunky peanut butter skin.
Yeah.
So they have that going on. Well, very good. We will be back. Andrew Callahan will join us. Perhaps is Callahan married? Yeah. I guess his wife has never been in the same room as Whitlock. Because if Whitlock wanted her, he could have her. Let's put it that way. Especially if that's skin peanut buttery.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back in just a moment.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
All right, man, the new year is here, and if you're like many of us, you're going to make a resolution to improve your health. But if you're feeling sluggish and got low energy, if your sleep patterns are off, if you've been working out and aren't seeing the gains you're used to seeing,
headlines.
Patriots search for a new head coach has begun after team owner Robert Kraft fired Gerard Mayo after one season late on Sunday. Kraft spoke to the media yesterday and not only took full blame for Mayo's tenure, he added he will move quickly to find a replacement. As far as Christian Gonzalez is concerned, he'll miss him.
Win games in this league in the first place. And then, I think he did a good job. Everybody in this locker room was riding for him. It's a tough business. So
Patriots have asked for and gotten permission to speak to Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. He is expected to meet with Kraft this week and speak to the Chicago Bears as well. In other NFL news, the Bears have submitted a request to talk to current Dallas head coach Mike McCarthy. He just finished the last year of his contract, and less than a week after he was released by the Cowboys, running back Ezekiel Elliott is signed with the LA Chargers. Bruins have lost 4 in a row. They're back home tonight to play Edmonton. Ryan Johnson and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And the Celtics will close down a 4-game road trip in Denver tonight. We'll join Grandy and Max immediately after the Bruins are done here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Everyone on the Celtics roster is available. Jason Tatum yesterday voted the Eastern Conference's Player of the Week. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Eastern Massachusetts' leader in drain cleaning and pipelining, Drains by James. Slow drain, clogged drain. You need to contact Drains by James today at drainsbyjames.com. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Gerard Mayo is out as Patriots head coach. 98.5 The Sports Hub has it covered all day, on air and online.
Is elongating?
Weekday morning.
Here goes Hardy.
Toucher and Hardy.
I no longer love things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Let's roll the dice.
Sports Hub.
We failed him, Maybe he failed us, but we failed him too as players.
What do you mean by that?
Just in terms of how do you feel about the fact that it was a one-and-done situation for him and players and the responsibility that I'm sure you guys feel like we didn't play well enough.
I don't think anybody here feels that way. We all put our best foot out there. We all gave it our all every single time. Everything we want to do, we did it with the mind and goal set to win, and that's kind of our mindset.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Watch us on YouTube. About why Vrabel is just this home run candidate, and I have the answer. It was sent to me by Seven, a man by name Seven. I'm guessing it's a man, but perhaps it's Six from Blossom's offspring.
Oh, yeah.
And they just named him Seven because it's cute.
I think it's George Costanza's kid.
Oh,
That's better.
Hey.
Touche. That is better. You keep saying why Vrabel is on top of every. You keep saying why Vrabel is on the top of everyone's list. Well, no, I keep saying why. I'm asking why Vrabel is on the top of everyone's list. I'm not saying why he is. I'm asking why. It's on the top of every list, but you didn't get hired last year. Well, it's because teams went with new guys and most didn't work. Belichick didn't get hired either, and he's arguably the greatest coach ever. He sounds so stupid.
Yeah.
You saw the market for Belichick this year.
I agree that you sound stupid.
Well, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to read that part.
You know who didn't sound stupid? Bird. If you write an article, Andrew Callahan, about Mike Borgonzi, I want you to listen back to the 720 segment to the show.
Oh.
Great information.
Yeah, Bird went to high school
Mike
with him.
Borgonzi.
Yeah.
From Everett High School. We brought Bird in. He went to high school with Mike. Some good information. Maybe you could learn something.
Can I get a tease?
Yeah, let's just say that he had a girlfriend and knows how to swim.
Yeah, his brother was really good, too. We found
All right, so Andrew Callahan, when did you know Mayo was getting fired?
Walking the concourse at Gillette Stadium back to the press box, and Adam Schefter's news broke on my phone. And I had never been more confident going into that game that Gerard Mayo could be fired. But even then, you're talking if you want to do percentages, 30, 35%. And that was something I kept to myself. I wasn't going to put that out there because then people run with it. And I'm like, what do I know? It's either my guess or my guess of somebody else's guess. But that's when I knew. I was like, okay, they're not messing around. They have someone in mind, and they're going to move fast, which is pretty much exactly what Robert said yesterday.
Okay. So why? So, no one thought that he was going to get fired halfway through the season. No one thought, everyone thought that he would be at least given 2 years from what you've gleaned, in your opinion, as someone who covers the team. What was going on? But why fire him? You knew that they weren't going to be good. You knew that the roster wasn't there. You knew you didn't surround him with anyone with much experience. It seemed like he was kind of set up to fail. Why fire him, and why do it as quickly as they did?
So in asking around, and I think honestly, if you've just watched and listened closely enough, there are a couple things that come to mind. Number one, and I wrote this after the Chargers game, that 11 months after Gerard Mayo was hired, the number one reason to keep him was still the same as it was when you hired him in the first place. Potential. It wasn't anything that you heard from this team. It wasn't anything that you saw from them in the field. It certainly wasn't anything you saw or heard in his press conferences. So when you have a sure thing like Mike Vrabel out there, okay, and we'll get to him later, there's no argument not to let go, cut bait, make an upgrade, which obviously they wanted to do. Number two, it wasn't just the losing, because I get the argument, hey, he was 4-13. He had a worse roster arguably than Belichick. That's Belichick's last record. Well, first of all, Bill got fired because of that. Number two, there were things behind the scenes that led to the play on Sunday that were untenable. Like, this defense broke in a way that we had never, ever, ever seen for two and a half decades beforehand, right? And like fundamental stuff, tackling, okay, keeping contained or setting the edge, basic fundamental things. They couldn't get through to players, and the way that you had players speaking about themselves, their teammates, and their coaches was reflective of a culture that was broken. And they said, we don't believe, based on what we've heard, seen, and studied, this is going to get better. We might as well pull the plug now because he needs too much time to get moving as a real head coach.
Okay, so having said all that, these are decisions that, and as Robert Kraft said yesterday, you know, it kind of came to a point. He also said, and we're going to get to more of this at 9 o'clock, that, you know, the high point of the season was Cincinnati.
Yes.
Like, holy crap.
Wow.
You couldn't find anything else to attach yourself to, like maybe one
that
shiny
big
moment?
Bears win didn't move the needle at all.
No, you beat the Jets. I mean, you beat the Jets at home.
Come on, that's a given, though. As bad as it is, we could go through a deadly pandemic, Cam Newton season, the end of Mac Jones. The Jets are always there.
Well, I was there, and I was none too happy about that. I thought the Jets were going to win that game, especially when they had the lead with very little time left.
But he said that it was, you know, this kind of like growing realization that this was going to happen. Why not pull the trigger before the end of the season, go downstairs, talk to whoever's going to coach the team in that game on Sunday and say, okay, Gerard's gone. We are obviously looking toward the future, starting with losing today's game.
It's a great question. And obviously they knew before the finale on Sunday, right?
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, I believe, had they not lost as badly as they did in Arizona, I'm not talking about like 13-point margin or 33 in the case of the Chargers games. If one or both of those games is different, he might still be here. Like, that's how close this was. But because they weren't, I'm with you. If I was going to fire him, I would do it before the finale. Tell whomever's up next, hey, this is how we want to run that game Sunday. Okay, granted, if Joe Milton goes off, as no one in the world but Fred predicted, we just got to live with it, you know? But I didn't get it either. Like, they knew what they were doing. They let him coach, finish out the season, give the press conference, everything. He had no idea, according to Robert, that he was coaching his last game.
Okay, why did they not let him address the team after the game?
Well, he did address the team after the game, and
Okay.
he said it was emotional. What didn't happen was he didn't address the team yesterday, which is the end-of-season team meeting, locker room clean-out. But those are 15-minute meetings, very similar for every team that didn't make the playoffs. The only difference in yesterday's case was Robert Kraft spoke to the team, and Elliot Wolf did, and that was that.
When the players talked about that meeting, they didn't seem overly enthused about the way it was handled. I mean, at least the way I read, even your reports, what the players said to you, it didn't seem.
I agree with Fred. Everything I read was like, well, we didn't get a chance to say goodbye, that kind of thing.
And we didn't know. No one told us. Like, basically, it would have been nice to know what the hell's going on around here.
But you're saying that he did address the team after he got fired.
Not after he got fired.
That's what we were talking about.
Okay, so you said after the game. So he did speak after the game. He then spoke to the media. It wasn't a goodbye. Like, that didn't happen.
Okay.
So what I would say is win more football games. You know? Like, this is something you all shared in. And I get that you could say, I didn't really like the way the goodbye went down. Well, you don't really get a say when this is the result, I would say. I would argue back. You know, if you want a chance to say goodbye to your head coach, give us a reason to keep him around a little bit longer.
Can I just ask you this? When they hire a new head coach and do whatever the hell they do this offseason, what if it's another disaster? Okay, because now you're in a position. What if it's another disaster? Like, what if you win 5 games next year? What do you do then? And what if it's obvious that there's something, there's like a public foible or something, something happens where there's a lot of controversy that comes on the team. There's, you're losing games badly. What happens then? Can you fire a coach the next year too?
Look, I'm not ruling anything out in the NFL ever. Like, I've at least been in this job long enough to know that. But I would want to know how it went down. If, let's say, Drake May gets injured week 1, this hypothetical where you're saying they're 5-12, they stink, that to me is the most likely way that happened. In that case, we all understand what happened. The franchise quarterback got hurt. If they're also losing in these games that just feel like a kick in the nuts over and over again, but more bad luck as opposed to this year, which was bad coaching, very evidently, then you'll probably get a break. I'll say this. Look, right now, they're the AFC Panthers. Right? You're on your 3rd head coach in 3 years.
Yes.
There's dysfunction. The record is what it is. As much as they've been shamed into certain decisions, into making some changes, I think you got to let the next guy, especially because he's more experienced, whether even it's Ben Johnson as an assistant or obviously Mike Vrabel as a head coach, get a little bit more runway.
Okay. So, yeah, you can't turn around and fire another.
You can't go 4 for 4.
All right, so let's talk about this.
Yeah. The Texans did that, did they not, at one point recently?
I mean, they are. Well, you defended that very, very strongly. But so there's the Elliott Wolf situation. Kraft said yesterday in the press conference that he's staying. Does that mean he's going to have this position, during the season next year?
I don't know if he'll be in the same position, but I believe in asking around that it's, for now, more likely than not, he'll be here through the course of next season. Is that still as the leader of the front office, or might that be as the number 2 or number 3 to the GM that, let's say, Mike Vrabel gets hired and he wants to bring in and says, hey, you can be here, but it's not going to be your call anymore.
Okay.
Do you want to do that?
We'll get into the whole Vrabel thing and giving who you're going to give to control of the front office. But what about the assistants? Now, there is a lot of controversy if the assistants have been let go. If they're under contract, do they stick around? Do they get interviewed by the new coach? Are they just here in theory? What's going on with the assistants?
They're hanging in the wind. They're under contract. And that's what the Crafts have said is like, look, we don't have to cut you. We don't have to let you go. You're going to stay here until we have a new head coach, and he'll make the call. And so I think the coaches that he wants to interview, again, let's just, for simplicity's sake, say it's Vrabel. He goes, I can do better than Alex Van Pelt. Alex, thanks for your time. I'm going to bring in a different offensive coordinator. He looks at the defensive staff and says, hey, Brian Belichick, you were a 10-year-old kid running around the practice field when I was playing here. But you know what? You've done a really good job with the safeties. I'd like to keep you. Mike Pellegrino, you oversaw Christian Gonzalez's development. Granted, first-round pick. He's done a good job. Would you guys like to stay? So he'll get to pick through the bones of, I think, this offensive and defensive staff. But I would be shocked right now if those guys weren't making calls around the league saying, hey, what else can I get?
Yeah, and you can't really fire your front office in one foul swoop before the draft, right?
Right, and that's the other part. Like, coaches' contracts typically run through the end of January, let's say mid-February, if you make a deep run of the playoffs, okay? So those decisions are coming. This is the natural cycle of the calendar and the decisions on that side of football operations. Everyone in the front office is typically up in mid-May. So not only do you have most of the hay in the barn when it comes to the tape study and the scouting reports and measurements and all the guys who they're going to sift through and pick and draft or not draft come April, but then after that is when you would typically make changes. So whether Elliott stays, and I would expect him probably, as of now, and things are fluid, to be the leader in the front office. The question of the change, just like he was officially hired, right, last year, mid-May,
yeah,
that's when that decision would be officially announced or made.
Okay, because that's iffy territory. I remember the Jets had Idzik do the draft,
and then
they fired him after the draft.
The Bills did this with Josh Allen. And or excuse me, not Josh Allen, but the first year Sean McDermott was there. They're a wild card team. Doug Whaley was the GM. They go through the draft, and then they fire and hire Brandon Beane, who would work with McDermott in Carolina. And like, so it's not just, oh, the Jets did it, we can do this too. Like, this is
no, it was bad though when the Jets did it.
And worked out obviously for the Bills. So I'm not saying it's going to work or it won't. It's just more common than you might think, these temporary shotgun marriages.
Yeah, and just we got a break. But the thing that I was kind of referring to is there's this desire to like blow out the entire front office, and it's like, well, there's a year of work that's been done. You know, like what are you just going to bring in entirely new scouting department, 2 months before the draft. I mean, that's impractical, correct? Like, you can't just blow everyone out. Right?
Yes.
All right. I mean, they're an operation that's still operating. I mean, they can't just clear the building out and then bring in, just do a fire drill where everyone just comes back in and replaces everyone. All right, look, let's get into the Vrabel thing, because I am educating myself. I don't know why Vrabel is this can't-miss guy. I read the email. It made a lot of good points.
Yeah.
So, but I'll ask Andrew just as a formality what his thoughts are on it. We'll be back in just a moment.
More Toucher and Hart. Toucher and Hardy resumes on the Sports Hub.
I mean, I love Gerard. I love playing with him, playing for him. You know, none of us have no say on that. So I mean, we made a decision, and we gotta, cherish the moments we had with him, and hope the best for him, and move on as an organization.
We have Andrew Callahan in studio on Toucher and Hardy, but I'm not going to waste his time. But I do want to bring this up because we were just talking about it. There's all this stuff going on at Fox Sports, and I was alerted to this tweet. There's this Joy woman, and apparently she was sleeping with all these executives, and she brought this guy in that she was banging, and then she got him a job, blah, 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 blah. Jason Whitlock explained how he stayed above the fray by saying this.
I kept my distance, not because I didn't like her, it's just because I knew myself. I know myself. I know what I'm capable of. And that big rack of hers that she showed off constantly, it's just, and that peanut butter skin with that big rack, like, Jay, keep your distance. That's going to get you into trouble.
Yeah, and if you don't know Jason Whitlock, he's not only old, but fat and ugly. So lucky for everyone that he was able to keep himself away from those huge, gorgeous cans. Or else, I mean, he would have fallen prey just like everyone else did to, her making them have sex with her. And someone who used to work at Fox Sports on television, Rachel Bonnet, had this tweet that has gotten seen 1.5 million times.
That's great.
One time, Jason crapped his pants in studio and had to run to the bathroom during a commercial break. Which is absolutely true. There's no doubt in my mind. And B, just speaks to how fortunate Jason is to have that constitution, because obviously this apparently attractive woman, I still don't know who she is, but this apparently attractive woman was making all these guys put it in her. And Whitlock shrewdly stayed away because she would not have been able to resist. Again, I think that's more of a two-person operation. Whitlock and two others, because there's a lot of hoisting and maneuvering involved.
Yeah. Getting on and off the throne.
Well, you're certainly getting on, because I don't think Whitlock's getting on. I think that is a very passive Jason Whitlock, based on the core strength and stamina beyond just holding up the physical fat to expose the penis. I think that these are all things that would have to be factored in.
Do you think that crapping his pants is what he meant by "I know what I'm capable of"?
I don't. That's a good thought. The funniest thing to me is not that she has peanut butter skin, which I've never heard before, or that she has big cans, whatever. It's that he shrewdly stayed away from her not being able to help but have sex, and also Whitlock's power. Because you could say, I know he's not attractive, but I mean that power. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And he's a big superstar. So that's what's funny about that whole thing.
Like, Jay, keep your distance.
It's like, have some self like I wouldn't sit here and go like, if like someone came out and like this girl was having sex with all these people, like dude, I knew that let alone if I was Jason Whitlock.
Freddie T, keep your distance.
Freddie, keep your distance. These women can't resist you. You know, it's all up to you. All right, look, Andrew Callahan is in here, and I've been very clear that I wanted to not make snap judgments. I don't know. What do I know about Mike Vrabel? But Mike Vrabel, it seems like this is all coming. They put in a call to Ben Johnson, as they should. They should do their due diligence, I guess, on a few guys. All right. Vrabel is considered this, like, can't-miss guy. Now, let me just give you what I know about him, and it's very little, is that the team, the Titans, before he got there, went 9-7, 9-7. Then he took over the team. They went 9-7, 9-7, but they made an AFC Championship game. They had good regular seasons and disappointing playoffs the 2 years after that, and then they were bad for 2 years. He didn't get a job in the last coaching cycle. Why is Vrabel this person that I've heard nationally, if not the number one coaching candidate, the number two coaching candidate?
So you remember free agency last year and the biggest name in the receiver market?
Yes.
Who was it?
It was Ridley. Right? Ridley.
Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Calvin Ridley.
Normally a 1B, maybe a 2. But because of what the market was, he was clearly the number one guy who's getting this big contract that as soon as the Titans gave it to him, everyone's like, that's too much. Patriots probably should have done it. But we know that's not his value. I'm not saying Mike Vrabel's Calvin Ridley, But I think when you go from Vrabel, Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, depending on how scared you are of what he did to Tua.
Aaron Glenn before Brian Flores.
Sure. Okay. Then there's a drop-off. That's what it is. The other part, though, is this holds up in any market. He's got a winning record as a head coach.
Sure.
Those guys typically don't come available. So when you go, oh, he's 9-7, made an AFC Championship game. Like, made an AFC Championship game.
What about Matt Nagy, though? Like, Matt Nagy had a winning record in Chicago.
Those offenses weren't good. He's an offensive coach.
But he's in Kansas City. Oh, well, I guess because you've got Mahomes and everything. All right. Very good. I just don't.
Well, no, give me a couple more. Because when he did win, as you said, it was with bad quarterbacks.
Right.
Okay, Ryan Tannehill was the peak of that mountain. 12-5 season, number 1 seed in the AFC. He wins Coach of the Year. Tannehill goes, you've got Malik Willis, you've got Will Levis, some strife in the front office, and an ownership that goes, you're out the door.
No, you're right. I don't think he's a 3-14 coach. I know. I realize there was problems there, and I'm open to him being this brilliant guy and everything. But here's the other point: is that it sounds like, and you mentioned it in the first break, that if you hire Vrabel, I get bringing in your own assistants and your own staff, coaching staff, but it sounds like they're going to let him have a say, in how the front office runs. Now, here we go, because now you're not just hiring a winning coach. You're hiring a guy and saying, take over. Do what Belichick did. Probably, it's not going to be to that degree, obviously, but kind of do what Belichick did. We're handing the franchise to you, which makes it a little bit different than just hiring him as a coach. You know he can coach. At worst, he's a slightly above average coach. At worst, his floor is average, right? Mm-hmm. His ceiling is he could go Super Bowl.
That's fair.
What about this whole notion that he can run a franchise?
You just don't know what he's capable of, Freddie T.
I certainly don't, and that's why I'm asking you, Andrew Callahan. I do not know what he's capable of.
I don't think they'll hand him the keys to the front office. I do think they give him significant input on who he wants to work with as a GM. And then the two of them might have equal say in what they're going to do.
But that to me is like you're giving him control because you're the guy who hires the guy or the guy who tells them who to hire.
Well, here's the thing. If you're Mike Vrabel, who, let's backtrack, and I'm sure you guys covered this last Friday. He's been a consultant for the Browns.
So sure.
Okay. it's not true. All shows. He's a consultant for the Browns last year. After he got fired in Tennessee, the Chargers job sounds like the only one he really wanted. They had a handshake deal with Jim Harbaugh. You're our guy. Come on down. That was kind of a done deal. So he says, okay, I'll take a year off, as much as a coach can, addicted to the job and the competition. Friday, he interviews with the Jets. Friday, a Jets writer for The Athletic drops this story. I've talked to Mike Vrabel for 5 months.
Yeah, terrible.
He's an everyman. He connects with townies in Nashville who still root for him even though he got fired there. He connects with coaches, executives, players. He's running around. He skis. He goes to Italy with his wife. Okay?
Zach Rosenblatt wrote that.
Right.
Puff piece.
And right as it happened, great access. I thought it was well written. To
Puff
me,
piece, though. Go ahead.
Leverage against the Patriots, who, as we know, 2 days later fired Rod Mayo. I don't think any of that was an accident because the Patriots not only were in a poor bargaining position with Vrabel from the start, but once they fire Gerard immediately and open this up, like it's not just that you're 4-13 2 years in a row, 4 losing seasons in 5 years, that any coach coming in is going to be able to dictate terms. This is a guy who knows you. He knows that few coaches want to be there in the way that he does and have the experience and resume to say, I'll come in and do the job I want. So if push comes to shove, Mike Vrabel's going to win, not just because he's 6'4", 260 pounds. It's because of the position the Patriots have put themselves in over the last 5 years. So you could say, oh, I don't want him to have all the power. What's your other choice? Like Ben Johnson sounds great, but what does he know about
Okay,
personally?
your other choice would be bringing in a guy like the Borgonzi and saying that we're hiring you as a GM and you are going to lead the coaching
Isn't
search.
that how it's supposed to happen? You hire the GM, he hires the head coach?
I would say there's no supposed to in the league.
Right. I mean, because you can't, John, you can't really go into it thinking that because then you're limiting yourself to with coaching candidates. I think that you got to do these things, and you can't dismiss any variable.
Sure.
So but is Vrabel? But to add to your point, is Vrabel the guy that you get rid of that idea for? Right? So if the traditional idea is that you would bring in a GM first and then they would build out, because the Patriots, you'd agree, have a lot of work to do in terms of just filling out their organization.
Oh, yes. Upgrading, modernizing everywhere.
Right. Okay. So this is a big job.
Yes.
Like they are, again, compared to the other 31 teams in football, it's a very antiquated way that they run things in the front office. Right. So there's a whole lot of structuring and all this corporate nonsense I know nothing about that they have to do. So with that being said, I understand you don't want to limit yourself by hiring a GM and then you eliminate some coaching persons, but candidates, but you're putting a lot in the Mike Vrabel basket. You just turned around and you're on your third coach, like you said, in how many years, and then you turn around and you're handing Mike Vrabel, who had a difficult time at the end in Tennessee, and you're just going take over everything. That would make me nervous. That part of it, him as a coach would not make me nervous.
Right.
Again, that never did. You have your quarterback.
It's all the other work that needs to be done here.
Yes, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Like, structurally, it's a disaster. They have to rebuild everything. Is Vrabel the guy to do it? That makes me nervous. Does he have the experience to do that?
So what I would say is, and going back to Wallach's question, the ideal setup is you bring them both in at the same time. Guys who have worked together before, have an established relationship, okay? And there's no coming in with, oh, they picked me first. Let's say in the case of the GM, who's always going to sit, or typically in the owner's box, and if things go badly, is kind of pissing in the ear of the owner, being like, oh, I wouldn't have called that 3rd and 7. These guys are good enough. You know that?
Yeah, I get
because
that.
that leads to the disconnect. You have politicking. You have guys in Chicago who, granted, probably not good coaches, but have gone through again and again and again, while Ryan Poles sits at the top and go, well, the roster's good enough.
Same with Jacksonville.
Right.
I mean, I ideally, if you're going to end up with a new head coach and a new GM, going back to the timeline that you laid out earlier, what would have been, again, this is just hindsight daydreaming, but let's say they had decided Elliott Wolf wasn't the guy. If they had gone with somebody else last spring and said, okay, Gerard Mayo is going to be the head coach, he actually puts together a suitable offensive line and maybe gets one more receiver for this team and maybe one more defensive player, like literally talking about like 3 or 4, personnel positions that are filled out, and you put an adequate roster on the field, and you have the same result. The GM can look at the owner and say, this team was actually good enough to get you 7-8 wins. The problem is not the issue here. Then you go and hire the new head coach at the same time you're doing it right now with your GM in place, and you have that structure going forward.
So 2 things on that. Number 1, last year, had they gone outside for the GM search, you have the same problem you do now. Okay, all the draft work is kind of in the barn. Like, you got to ride this out with the guy who put together the information. Now, to the point of, like, you want to bring in someone from the outside who knows better. I think they saw that in Elliott, who I know got closer with ownership at the end of the 2023 season. And during that time says, this is how I did it in Green Bay. This is the system I grew up in. We're not worried so much about fit, projecting these prospects. It's just who's good. So I'll overhaul the scouting system. That's what they did. They applied some of it. People in the front office I talked to said, yeah, it's coming along. Like, we're able to apply it. Granted, didn't go great with the draft. For agency, hits and misses. But his job was not to build a roster ready to win 7-8 games this year. It was to start and initiate a rebuild. Now, I would say it's interesting how much loyalty the Crafts have to Elliott Wolf, how much they want to stand by him, potentially at the expense of Vrabel.
I just don't know what he's done for you other than drafting Drake May 3rd after 2 quarterbacks were off the board.
Well, but he didn't have... They still have all that. They have $130 million in the cap space. He got Drake May. You gave him 1 draft, and you can't judge a draft in 1 year anyway. I mean, it's chances are it wasn't the world's greatest draft.
Yeah, you can judge Jalen Polk right now.
Yeah, I know, but you're allowed to blow a pick. I mean, but you don't know like the depth of the draft. And I mean, Joey Milt. Yeah. You're training him for a second-round pick right away.
Hey, Kraft said they got 2 quarterbacks. Tables. Kraft said they have 2 quarterbacks now.
Look at, hey, I ain't the GM. Joey Milton goes out and show and proves, baby.
Fred just held up Joey Milton as the reason why Elliott Wolf may not be that bad.
I was being sarcastic at my own expense.
Yeah.
You're not used to it because you never do that to yourself.
Oh boy.
I think Freddie saw the light.
Yeah, I did. It was funny. It was funny that he played that well. All right, look, it was.
Well, let me get off.
I couldn't, but we have to break real quick. If you
I know,
got something
and you're going to need a little extra time this week.
All right, well then let's just break
real quick. You mentioned, and I agree.
Whoa, that's the gauntlet.
I'm excited for this 2 sets line in a good way. Here's the thing, I don't believe if you're interested in being fair, and I don't mean it's unfair to fire Gerard Mayo, but truly learn about a draft class, a quarterback, or a GM. You can judge any of them after 1 year, particularly when that GM's job in the first year was not to win right away, not be competitive. Reset the roster, roll over cap space, draft young players, play them, all the veterans, 1 or 2 year deals. That's it. We're moving forward. Okay? That said, because the Crafts are not interested in being fair, they're interested in winning right away. Their decision of how loyal do you want to be at Elliot Wolf if it comes to this, and Vrabel says, look, he can be in the front office. I don't want him leading it when I take over. What do? That will test their loyalty to someone that they've trusted a lot over the last 12 months versus someone that they've known for over 2 decades. Where do they go? That's the most interesting part of this, presuming, of course, Vrabel gets close and they want to offer him the job.
And then it's funny, they get rid of Wolf, and then they, at the 4th pick, they take some bum left tackle that's a turnstile, and then they go,
Right.
whoopsies.
Yeah, Banks turns into a bust.
Yeah, now we
Texas
screwed.
kid.
Now we screwed up a 1st round pick, let alone a second.
Nice.
All right, we'll be back with 2 stats and a lie. It's going to be very exciting and very controversial, what we're told.
Sports Hub. morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
Oh, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Andrew's got 2 stats, but he only has one no good stinking lie. Andrew's got 2 stats, but has only one lie. Who will guess correctly?
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. We'll start 2 stats in the live, but I won't start until the theme is played.
Oh, you want the theme. By the way, technically, I now have the lead because I was here during our week off. I came into work one day, Fred. You should look into doing that. And I played 2 stats and 1 live the day Andrew was here. And Andrew?
Well, this was off air. The people who played were Ryan in the back and Mark Dondero, who I co-hosted with New Year's Eve. And you were around, and I ran them by, and you got it right, but it did not go to the standings.
Why were you here?
I was working. I was working on this stuff.
Okay.
Ryan and I were here.
All right.
Working on stuff during the break.
Yeah.
He loved that he was hearing so much. He was just drawn to it.
Hey, everybody. Hardy comes in when he's not working.
That's right.
Let's do this. It takes 2 stats from the other night. And one might see you can get it right. It takes 2 stats from the other night. And one might see you can get it right.
If you want to talk about coming into work, I started last year in the red, about 20 hours in sick days. I got 48 hours in sick time now, baby.
Look at you, just working 5 days a week over and over.
I had 2 sick days last year. That's amazing.
What, it gives you the Puzzle Factory days carried over from the year before?
My throat was the year before. I only missed, and they were vacation days for the Puzzle Factory.
What about the Funny Farm days?
Those were 2 vacation days.
That was a couple
over
of years
a holiday
ago.
weekend. No. There was the Puzzle Factory. Yeah, a couple years ago.
Years ago.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
There was that weekend we were all a little worried.
Yeah, there was the weekend, but I took vacation for that.
Right. Sure.
Wait, so was one of your 2 missed days one of my days?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that hurts.
Well, it was a Tuesday, so you know I actually was sick. You know? It's a Monday or
As opposed
Friday.
to a
Yeah.
Monday or-
That wasn't the Zolak water heater special on a Friday.
Listen, I can't poke fun at
June.
Zolak. I've missed my own.
In June, right?
I've missed my own fair share.
Friday
of
in
days.
June, water heater mishap, yeah.
I'll stay out of the fray on that one. All right.
All right, so here are the standings right now. Fred, you are 6-8. I am 6-9. Wallach is 2-13.
I almost wish I was 6-9 on the account
Yeah.
of 69.
Hell
you
yeah.
know? The sexual position.
We don't know what year.
Andrew
Capable
Callahan
of.
has fooled us 30 times. He has been found out 14 times, 30 and 14. So here we go.
Quick shout out first. The Bears are interviewing Mike Vrabel tomorrow, according to my guy, Doug Kyde at the Herald. Well
All
done.
right.
My
Doug
man.
Hyde, there you go.
The dance continues.
They
yes.
Vrabel's interviewed with the Jets, and now they're going to interview
That's
with the
what it
Bears. 2 jobs with terrible owners. All right, go ahead.
Number 1, Joe Milton can throw a baseball 98 miles an hour
Now, does it have to be? It can be over 98.
in the ballpark.
Okay, so yeah, all right. So it's not like it's 98.
98.5.
Because that's
Classic.
there's no way that's a lie. He can throw a ball 98 miles an hour.
After
There's no
seeing
way.
that play that didn't count.
There's a kid on my son's baseball team that throws 96.
You know what? You just helped me already, but I'll say
That's
why
fine.
later.
That's fine.
Number 2, Joe Milton's passer rating Sunday was higher than any passer rating Drake May logged in a game this season.
It was a 111 passer rating, I believe.
Higher than every passer rating Drake May produced in a game this season.
Okay.
Number 3, one of those 2 was a lie.
Wow! Wow!
man! This is gonna mess
But-
me up.
Does it?
But you saying that could be a lie.
That could be the lie.
Holy
Interesting.
crap! Yeah, he's turned this whole thing on its ear. He's
It's
busted
like an
it.
all of the above situation.
This is like Jackson Pollock after a night working on the mural for the Guggenheim, and it's just, you know what?
It's jazz.
Jackson, you busted it wide open. He's busted it wide open.
It's jazz. It's him with a bottle of whiskey just listening to it's just jazz. It's freestyle.
You just drip paint on the canvas for the first time.
It's like Warhol's urine period when he was just peeing on copper and putting in museums.
I'd like the whiskey reference better, personally.
Oh, and Pollock was a horrible drunk. And I call into question that's art.
So if you choose 3, that means the first 2 are true.
Yes.
Do you want me to run them down again? Buy you some time.
No, I can do it. Joe Milton can throw a baseball 98 miles an hour. Joe Milton's passer rating in Week 18 was higher than any of Drake May's passer rating this season. Or number 3, the first 2 are
lies.
One of the first 2 are lies.
One of the first. No. The first 2 are lies.
One of those 2 is a lie.
So you took something that I find complicated enough and you made it more complicated.
I told you.
So if you choose 3, then both of those things are true. And
Yes.
3 is the lie.
That's correct.
All right.
Brilliant stroke.
All
Well
right.
done.
It's brilliant.
That really is.
All right. First of all, okay, I'm calling into question this whole thing because I'll tell you this: there's a kid again at Lawrence Academy that can throw 96. He's a Duke commit.
Okay.
Joe Milton, there's no way he can't throw a baseball 98 miles an hour. If he was going full tilt, there's no way he can't throw a
He
baseball.
can throw a football 98 miles an hour. How can he not throw a baseball?
That's not true.
No, he cannot throw a football 98 miles an hour.
But Fred, by you saying like, over, you can't throw it over. I think there's a good chance he's been clocked at 97 and a half. Which
he said in the ballpark.
Yes, he said in the ballpark.
Unless Milton's mechanics are so terrible.
Throwing off a mound different than flat ground.
Yeah, and unless his mechanics are just like completely
doesn't know how to
off.
wind up and pitch.
Can I ask has he played competitive baseball? He didn't play at Tennessee or Michigan because he was too busy not making the team or underperforming.
Okay, we're gonna run long if we do this for much longer. I do have something to say about number 2, and I think there could be a hiccup in
So
there.
do I.
Like, what about what about Drake May? What about Drake May's passer rating in the game where he only played like 2 series? Like he could have had.
Oh, the Jets game. Ooh. Oh, and Callahan just made a face.
Interesting.
I've been smiling a lot.
No, the Jets game. May's passer rating.
And I don't say
Jets
that defensively. That's just true. That's the good folks on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, they were real charms this morning. I logged off after about 15 minutes. Those jackals.
Why do you keep doing?
I'm not going to log on anymore.
I mean, that's why they do it now. It's just to piss you off.
Okay,
that's the whole point.
So, Hardy, you go first this time.
No, I'm going to go first because I need this explained to me. So if Drake May had a higher passer rating than Milton, then number 2 is a lie.
Yes.
I'm putting number 2 as the lie.
Okay, I'm going for the win here. I'm gonna go as number 1 is the lie.
Okay.
Wallach?
All right. Just to be different, I'm going to say number 3 is the lie. That both the first 2 are true.
Wallach, you're going to be like the 79 Lions, 2-14.
Yeah, well.
But this is the year for New Orleans.
You know what? It's off season coming up. We're going to fire everybody.
We have to find out some punishment. Callahan has to come back to do something to you.
All right, go ahead.
Probably peg you.
Not the 79 Lions, fellas. I would call Wallach, as for today, more the 2024 Lions. He's right.
Wow.
All right, explain them because that's interesting. That's very good, Andrew.
Joe Milton's passer rating north of 111 on Sunday against the Bills. Okay, Drake May got close, 109 against Jacksonville, and that was the highest he had all season.
Okay,
because I thought it was too obvious. All right, go ahead. And tell me the baseball one.
He can throw a baseball 98 miles an hour. This came out in a couple pre-draft stories last year. Hey, tell us how fast you can throw a baseball. 98 was the answer.
There's no question.
I can't verify it with a gun myself.
No. There's no question.
Gave you the ballpark. He can throw
I
a
have
football
questions.
as measured at the combine, 62 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Very close to being faster than any land animal on planet Earth. That's how fast he can throw a football.
Can
faster
I ask
than
you,
a cheetah.
I know we're running very late, but everyone loves Andrew Callahan, so I'll allow it. And so will Adam.
I'm on board.
Does Milton throw a football? Is it arguably he throws a football harder than anyone who's ever thrown a football in professional football? Jeff George, maybe?
He's in the neighborhood. Like him, Elway.
Jamarcus Russell, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Very good.
You know what's funny, though? J.J. McCarthy, that same combine, was 1 mile per hour shy of Joe Milton.
McCarthy got
so
a rap.
Not just a big dude.
He's a tremendous athlete.
How hard did Favre throw? Because I
another
used to
good
see
one.
balls bouncing off the hands of
Elway and Favre, the two.
Well, did you hear when they asked Milton if he had ever broken a receiver's fingers, and he got all like pissy about it? And then he went, "Oh yeah, in high school I broke 5."
That was my guy. Danny
yeah.
Heifetz of the Ringer, which he also this came out on my podcast with Pop Douglas, broke a bone in his hand this past summer playing catch with Joe Milton.
Yeah,
that's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Milton had a great game. That's a big problem with Milton. He's got some brain defect where he can't take anything off the ball.
Oh, can we get you a jersey? We need like one day. Big number 19.
It was very funny. Yeah. I did, but on the other hand, it was even funnier because it cost him the first pick of the draft. But yes, the whole thing was funny. I admit it.
Andrew's got 2 stats. Andrew's got 2 stats. But he's got 1 lie. But he's got 1 lie. Andrew's got 2 stats. Andrew's got 2 stats. But he's got 1 lie. But he's got 1 lie.
All right, we finished the season. Fred 6-9.
Come on, girl.
Oh, finally.
I finished 6-10.
I got my wish.
Wallach 3-13. Andrew Callahan fooled us 32 times. The lie was only detected 15 times all season long.
Well, Andrew, that was a marvelous segment that you came up with, and we appreciate it. We'll have you on. I'd like to have you on. We could extend this while this whole thing's going on. I'd like to have you in studio.
I'll be here anytime you guys want.
Yeah. I want to keep this going for a while until this is all settled.
Maybe it had to do with the football team I cover, but this is the best part of my week. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. We love having you, and the listeners love it. It's pretty unanimous. All right, look, we'll be back. I'll take this call from Eric because he's been on hold forever. He wants to yell at me, and then we'll play more from Kraft's press conference.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs? Yeah, we're talking about playoffs. We got to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL.
What this means for Dietrich Wise is he's going to be playing for his third different head coach in 3 years.
There's no make a call. We already know the business is the business. This is how the NFL is. This is the dark side of football. So
Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson will speak to both the Patriots and Chicago Bears about a job this week. And speaking of the Bears, the Boston Herald and others are reporting at this hour they will talk to Mike Vrabel tomorrow. They have also asked for Dallas for permission to speak to their head coach, Mike McCarthy. The Bruins play Edmonton at TD Garden tonight. Bruins have lost 4 in a row. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And after that game is done, we'll head to Denver for the Celtics game against the Nuggets with Grandy and Max. Everyone on the roster is available for the Green as they get ready to wrap up a 4-game road trip. Jason Tatum yesterday voted the Eastern Conference's Player of the Week. Denver's Nikola Jokic won the Western Conference Award. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Shaws and Star Market Foundation. They've teamed with Trent Frederick for Feeding the Puck for families to help fight food insecurity. Learn how they're assisting the Greater Boston Food Bank at 985thesportshub.com/feedthepuck. I'm John Wallach of Boston Tone for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Let's talk turkey, shall we?
Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, in the sports industry, that's what you say.
Got your talking head right here, buddy.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Half Dutcher,
Dressed like a gorilla.
half Hardy,
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
and a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
I'm going to be very brief here and say this whole situation is on me. I feel terrible for Gerard because I put him in an untenable situation. I know that he has all the tools as a head coach to be successful in this league. He just needed more time before taking the job.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Watch us on YouTube. You can watch us live every day, and then you can watch clips or the whole show whenever you want. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub and subscribe, and then you'll get Haktua Girl stuff too, because we're very involved in the Haktua community, in the Haktua Bitcoin that she was selling. All right, Eric has been on hold for a very long time. Eric, go ahead.
Freddie No Pockets, I love you, baby.
Thank you.
And I do like this new thing of yours where you're against the definitive take, these big blanket definitive statements that people are coming out with, thinking they know better, and then they're ultimately proved wrong. For example, I agree with you. Last week, there was this jabroni. He spent the entire week saying that the Patriots cannot not play May and then fire Mayo. They can't do it. They can't not play May and then fire Mayo. And then, wouldn't you know, they turned around and they did exactly that, my friend.
I know. Well, I wasn't predicting that they wouldn't do. What the hell do I know what they were going to do with Mayo? These other guys are all in there. I thought this whole thing, in Callahan will tell you, this whole thing, he's just called them the Patriots or the Panthers of the AFC. He said, congratulations, you're the Panthers of the AFC. Like, this is a bit of a circus. My point with that was, if you were going to deliberately tank the game, then you're undercutting your coach, and then you're going to go ahead and fire him after the game. That seemed like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, go deliberately lose, and then I'm going to fire him.
I thought it was funny.
Oh, dude, if you want to make fun of me for some...
No, dude. It was funny to me that you repeatedly said that so much last week, and then they
go ahead and did it.
He does that exact thing. No, my big thing is I don't get the Wolf thing. I also just don't get why can't they let him go now? I mean, like, the Jets got rid of Douglas mid-season, so I don't know. I feel like the whole there to keep the lights on thing, I don't really get it. If you're going to blow it up, just blow it up. But love you guys.
I know you can. That's the thing, is you can fire the GM. I don't get the whole thing that you can't fire the GM either. Is that you just can't fire the entire front office staff. Like, that notion is
but
ridiculous.
You're essentially doing that though when you blow out a GM or even a head coach. You're firing a huge chunk of the staff.
Yeah, but the Jets did it in a way where they look. The Jets are a terrible organization, so you don't want to follow their lead. But when they screwed everything up. Johnson started signing free agents and making trades like Woody Johnson, the owner. It's a disaster over there. They gave Aaron Rodgers the team. There's a lot going on. And that's what ultimately cost Joe Douglas, is that he wasn't even Joe Douglas basically wasn't the GM anymore. It was Woody Johnson and Aaron Rodgers were the GM. But what they did is they hired Tannenbaum and his company to come in and kind of take over things in the interim and help with all the coach and GM searches. And so they have like an outside counsel, which I don't know if that. So I think Elliot Wolf is serving that role right now for the Crafts. The Jets went outside of the organization and hired that. But if you want to make fun of me for something, it's definitely the Joe Milton performance after I dogged him. Now, look, I don't think he's going to be an NFL quarterback, but he did have his day. And it was funny to me because I was the only person, because no one else gave a crap about Joe Milton but me. And I badmouthed him so much, and then he went out and had that tremendous game.
This is a Patriots fan telling you I watched him do that and thought, oh, maybe we have a backup next season. I didn't think, oh, we can flip him for it. Thank God we can flip him for a third-round pick, or thank God anyone's going to want him. As a Patriots fan, I looked at that and went, okay, we don't need Jacoby Brissett here next season.
Well, I don't think you need Jacoby Brissett. But I think that you have to bring in a veteran quarterback. I don't know if you're going to keep him on the roster, but you at least have to bring a veteran quarterback in. You got to hedge your bets a little bit. But listen, if Milton's your backup quarterback, it's good that you kept him on the practice squad, and it's good that you kept him around, or it's not practice squad, but you kept him as the scout team quarterback for the year. All right, Robert Kraft talked yesterday. He talked at 1:00 yesterday. He was dressed up in his Patriot sport jacket with the red pocket square. He's a little gentleman.
Yeah, he did. And, we got to a lot of it early on. There was some discussion yesterday about, like, when did everybody know? When did Robert Kraft know he was going to make this decision? And he spoke about that. But what about Gerard Mayo? Informing him, we found out 80 minutes after the game ended. This was asked.
I was wondering if you could speak a bit more to the timing of this. Did Gerard know before the game that this would be his last game coaching?
No.
And we asked Andrew Callahan about that. If you knew you were going to do this, which we can all believe now with certainty that they knew they were going to do this, why not tell him? Why not actually not only tell him, but relieve him of his head coaching duties before the last game, and then take that trip downstairs? Because, he was also asked, what was the plan?
Robert, did you have any input with the coaching staff about how to handle the final game of the season with the number one overall pick at stake?
Did you have any input? Did you talk to the coaching staff about how to handle the game? No.
By the way, Mayo knew he was getting fired after the game. That's a fact.
After the game.
Mayo knew before the game he was getting fired. Everyone around the team knew that he was getting fired. All the writers knew he was getting fired. Adam Schefter went on TV and said he was getting fired. Like, there's no way that didn't get back to Mayo. There's no way there weren't signs. Apparently, Mayo was really inept. Is what we're hearing.
Well, all the more reason if you
to fire him before the game. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is that Mayo knew going into that game he was getting fired, and he did not actively try to lose as much as the Bills did. And I'm sure if not the Crafts, Elliot Wolf through the Crafts and everyone else, the brain trust said we'd rather have the first overall pick. Don't play May except for like a series. Don't play so-and-so, and don't play Hunter. Don't play these guys. But the Bills during that game actively played to lose way more than you did. And who knew Milton was going to go crazy? And if Mayo wanted to, he could have put in Brissett, and Brissett would have gotten it. And Brissett wouldn't have been tossing the ball all over the he wouldn't have gone, oh, they're running this base defense, I'm just going to start chucking it all over the place.
I wasn't even paying attention to it because I was thinking about that too. Was he on the game day roster?
Brissett was there, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't play, but he was on the roster.
Yeah, he was
the first time they dressed three quarterbacks all season.
They were letting Milton throw. They didn't run the ball. The Buffalo obviously was running a very basic defense that they saw that they could chuck it all over on. And Joe Milton certainly has the ability to throw the ball around. So they threw the ball all over the place. And that's what happened. And at the end of the game, certainly at the end of the game, well before the end of the game, Buffalo was playing to lose. They were running when they should have been throwing. They were killing clock when they shouldn't have been killing clock.
They were huddling down a touchdown with less than 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, like they completely and it makes sense for them. I mean, they gave Allen the snap so he could keep that stupid consecutive start streak. I don't know what he cares about that for. But obviously, they don't want to put anything on tape. And you know that teams don't. You know that they don't want to put anything on the tape. And then at the end of the game, they're losing. They're like, all right, screw it. It's better if we lose this game. They're resting players. They have something to play for. They have another game. You can do that when you have another game. And again, if I was a Patriots fan, I told you this yesterday, and I'm talking more to John, who's the Patriots fan in the room, I would have felt a lot better about that win. I go, we didn't get the first pick, but Mayo got a win under his belt, and May played the game, and May threw it all over the place, and he's going out on a high note. The idea that you fired the coach 45 minutes after the game, and you played you played your scout team quarterback, and he had the game of his life, would make things a little tougher to take. Now you can come out of it and go, "Oh, we have a backup for next year." Well,
that's exactly what Robert said.
Looks like we lucked out. We maybe have 2 quarterbacks.
Damn right you do.
It's very sad.
Damn right you do.
I think we'll hopefully see a big improvement this year.
Okay.
He's older than my dad.
Joe Milton jerseys are going to outsell Zolak jerseys in the pro shop. You watch.
Look, it's going to be worse than my Tatum take if Milton ends up being okay.
I don't think nothing could be worse.
I'm
than
going
your
to have
Tatum
to
take.
come in on a slow day and give you all my evidence.
We're retiring the Tatum take. That's number 1 forever.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think Tatum was going to be a bad pro. I just didn't think he was going to be as good as Jonathan Isaac. I didn't think Tatum was going to be a
Isaac's
superstar.
still playing. I saw him come off the bench right before Christmas.
He was injured. Scalabrini thought the same thing as me.
And you both were wrong.
Nah, it's too early to say.
John, what do you have to say about this? When Robert Kraft was talking about spending in the salary cap?
Will what you spend on this transition affect anything that you spend on players this offseason?
Yeah, the answer is no. We've always had a situation where we spend to the cap, and if we go
there's also another part of that where he's saying, you know what, I made sure that if we overspent, we had to go back to the 3-year mean.
Yeah, I wanted to stop it there because that's the money right there. I'm like, that's not right.
No, that's not even close to right.
No.
So the theory is that he is keeping costs low to save money so he makes more?
No, I think it's probably more in line with what we were talking about earlier with you and with Andrew, in that, you know, this is part of a multi-year reset, and you don't spend money needlessly in a year when you're not going to do anything.
Oh no, the cap space. No. You don't want it. No, you don't just spend money and get locked into contracts just to spend money.
Oh, okay, if we're talking about this coming year, no, he went hog wild a few years ago, and that was an abject disaster. So, spend money, but on the right guys. Like if you want to overspend on T. Higgins, all for it. If you want 5 years and $20-30 million per, go.
But I'd imagine the operating cost, from what I'm not making up, needs to happen there, according to every single person that's ever seen the way this team operates. It's going to, outside a head coach and whatever they do in the top of the front office, I mean, they're going to have to spend a lot of money just to modernize the team.
Yeah.
Like the way the team operates. It's a big job ahead of them. They're not in a good place.
No.
They're in a very bad place.
Not only that, they got to get it done in like 2 or 3 months. I mean, this is...
Well, no. I know. They'll get through the draft, and I guess they've, changed the way they evaluate things, and maybe they've expanded the scouting department, but they got to create, things like an analytics department. They got to modernize facility. They got to do a lot of stuff. Belichick wasn't telling him, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I actually don't think the Crafts, by any stretch of the imagination, are like cheaping out. I think that's a kind of, I can't imagine that's real. But I just don't think that I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt and just say no one told him. Like, they didn't know. Like, Belichick told him what he thought they needed to know and nothing else. Well, now you know. You got to do a lot. Like, stupid stuff like the weight room. Like, remember? Like, they got to do a lot.
Yep.
They didn't have an indoor practice facility that they could use. What was the thing? They couldn't, excuse me. They had some practice situation that was unlike any other in the league.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
No. There's one now too. They're building something with their practice facility that every other team had that they don't have. I'll find it.
Okay.
It was an article in the Globe, and they showed a rendering of it.
They do have an indoor bubble.
That indoor bubble is
forever.
Yeah, I know, but it's not a modern facility.
There's something about the walk to it. It's yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yes, you were there. There's that artist rendering of what they were going to do the practice facility. I'll find it.
Okay.
Louth will tell me.
All right, very good.
Or maybe he'll tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. But we'll see that. Okay, here we go. Look at me type. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
you're going to have to spend $40.
Cough it up, and let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
You know, I got an idea for a bit. The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
What an exciting day to be listening to Toucher and Hardy, as you can go to 985thesportshub.com and find out how to email us. You can go to our social media sites at Toucher and Hardy on Instagram especially. And you can follow me. I haven't been very active over the holidays. I felt to keep that Fred time.
Yeah. That is your private time for yourself, I understand.
Where are we on the follower count?
At Fred Toucher, if we go to the following count, is at, I will tell you from my professional dashboard, I have a blue check mark.
Okay. Good for
I
you.
have 24,280 followers.
And what's the goal? 25, or is it to be have more
Where's
than
Kendra now?
I don't know.
Kendra, who got in a big car accident.
Yep.
As there has been, they were driving across country. They drove in the Midwest in January and hit snow.
How about that?
But there has been like torrential snow showers. Like Missouri, like St. Louis got snowed in, and then they were in Illinois and that got snowed in.
Kendra's up over 30 now, 30.2 thousand.
All right.
If you
So I got
posted more-
work to do.
If you posted more car accident photos, you'd be closer.
Well, she's posting multiple times a day.
Yes.
And that's not the strategy I'm taking.
Oh.
I'm not just going to throw a bunch of stuff out.
Quantity
against the
over
article.
quality. I get it.
No, it's like the articles for the 985thesportshub.com. I'm going to give you all the ones from the restaurant on the island, Castle Island.
Oh.
Sullivan's
on Castle Island. That I would rather give you one of those articles than 50 pieces of garbage.
Right. But what was the main takeaway of that Sullivan's Castle Island article?
I'm glad you asked. Their French fries are the best. You have to have them with vinegar, or don't. They're great either way.
Okay.
So you're good either way, Hardy. You want them with vinegar? Tell me you want them with vinegar.
I don't. Is that okay?
Yeah, they're great. Anyway, you have to have them with vinegar. I don't like vinegar. Okay. They're great anyway.
They'll still be great.
This is misdirection.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to tell you what you had to do.
Yeah, I mean, don't put mud on them because then they might not be as good.
Did it say that in the article?
No, but I could add a footnote.
Yes.
Where's the edit button?
Yes, addendum. Nick, get on that. Say don't put mud on them. Even though that was not even him, that was a nom de plume.
Email from Cam. Fire department came by my apartment building last night. The couple in the apartment above me, the guy had put his fiancée in handcuffs and misplaced the key. So they had to come get her out of them. She was fully clothed minus her shoes. So I don't know if this was an arrest or foreplay, but what are your thoughts?
That was DA.
That is a man that the only part of a woman he cares about are those tootsies. He can use them for everything.
Because you figure the handcuffs have to go on. You're not going to get dressed once the handcuffs are on.
And you're also going to get undressed before the handcuffs go on because you can't take the clothes off unless you're ripping them off.
So the point of this was to get this girl in handcuffs and then go after them feet.
Yeah, it was just to have her completely submissive while he tickles them toes.
Yep.
Which, again, would be the greatest thing ever because you know what he's using with those feet. He's just smashing them together and using them. Like, he doesn't need any other part of them, which would be a little
That
dehumanizing.
came up in my algorithm, by the way.
Oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky.
And, it was a reel, so it's like, you know how to save this. What is it? And it's gone into the ether. But it was a girl just explaining, like, here's what I could do for you. And it was all about the FJ, as she called it.
Yeah, because which is hysterical to me, but it's got to be a little dehumanizing if you're the woman that the guy's just like, keep your clothes on. I have no interest.
Keep your hands off of me.
Yeah, not only do I have no interest in pleasing you, even superficially, like doing anything that would remotely feel good to you.
Yeah.
I am only interested in your 2 feet, which if I put a tarp over you, wouldn't even have to necessarily, like, close enough to human. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like You are just a pair of feet to me.
Right.
Because at least if you, like, theoretically,
You
like an
literally-
ass or
you
you like
literally-
boobs, you
you-
still want to please them in some way.
You could be an orangutan right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, because even if you fetishized breasts or like asses, there is a conceivable way that could be at least somewhat pleasurable to the woman. Like, at least that's not bad. Like, it that at least feels okay. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the feet, me putting my feet together and letting you use them is of no. I'm just sitting there. I'm an innocent bystander in this thing. I could contend that you wouldn't even feel it at all.
Aren't there all sorts of pressure points on your feet though that trigger other
Not
things
when
in your body?
not when you're using them in that way, Adam. You're going completely on the inseam or
suppose
the
you're right.
insole
Yeah,
or whatever the hell
insole.
it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah.
Arch.
The arch. Yeah,
Use
you're
those
just
two arches.
Yeah. There's, but I also
But you
don't.
got to hold them in place so you could be manipulating them in that way.
It would be a very,
I'm
very
just saying
rare.
there's a way that you could give pleasure. I think
A
I don't know enough
sexual
about it.
pleasure or like a nice.
I don't know about
like-
those trigger points.
Okay, because if
I know they're there. I just don't know. what does
like
what.
women will play with each other's hair and like even caress each other's arms and shoulders and stuff. Like they
Oh,
like,
yeah, they will.
Yeah, but that's not like a lesbian thing. That's just them.
It's comfort.
Like comforting and
Yeah,
like they like the way
bonding.
that feels. I'm sure there's a way you can do that with feet. Like women would like their feet rubbed, but I don't think that's, except for a very small subset of women, can lead to an orgasm.
Why's it gotta be
I
all
guess
about
I'll
the
have to do
orgasm,
my
Fred?
research.
Why's it got to be all about the orgasm? Why can't it be about the?
That's what it's always
trip?
about, 12.
Why's it got to be about the destination?
Who's walking by?
That's just some person I don't even know just walking by. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, Adam, watch your mouth. We're being broadcast, you know.
That's right.
Why
say
does it all have to
orgasm.
lead to orgasm?
Oh, there he
No, I said, why does
again.
it have to be all about? It can be about the journey.
Yeah, but the journey is supposed to end up somewhere. I'm saying that I just don't think it would be that pleasurable. But I've never had anyone screw around with my feet. If you want to, if you like to try in the post-show meeting, I won't say no.
Adam watches porn for the story.
Let me tell you how unsexual I think feet are. If you want to give me your feet, I'll rub them. I would. I wouldn't particularly want to, but it A, wouldn't gross me out, and B, would make me feel. It would make me feel nothing.
This is the
I would
opposite
feel literally
of
nothing.
the Jules Vincent
Hardy,
conversation
pop
in
a foot
Pulp
up
Fiction.
on that console. You're the closest.
So the whole foot massage thing with Mia
yeah.
Wallace, it's like I've given a
Oh.
million foot massages.
I mean,
yeah, I got my technique down and everything. Would you give me a foot massage? Yeah, and that's when Jules like you best back off. I'm getting a little pissed now.
okay, that was Tarantino, who we know has a crippling foot fetish.
Right, but he finds them very sexual.
Well, I told you the Tyra Banks show. Tyra Banks did you don't think much of Tyra Banks probably, except that she was good looking. Tyra Banks has him on the show. She takes off her shoe and she puts her foot in his lap.
No.
First thing that she does.
No.
Oh, it was fantastic. Oh, it was the greatest thing ever.
Was he able to be interviewed and have a
He-
conversation?
He is so uncomfortable. He's just incredibly uncomfortable. There's no way the way he loves feet, because go back and watch any Tarantino movie. He does a gratuitous foot shot. In the one that I don't like with the Manson family in it,
Once Upon a Time.
he's just got the
Oh,
girl's
God.
feet up on the dashboard for no reason.
And then he's got her
theater,
in the
too.
movie theater with
movie
their-
theater.
yeah,
That's the one I was
their
I just went to find the
filthy
clip, Fred, and it's not that, but there is a clip of him. Apparently, he farted shortly after that appearance on the Tyra Banks show. Go figure.
Triple threat. Put it in a balloon.
Such delight.
Save that.
Don't waft it this way. Mm-hmm. But in seriousness, like I would if a guy, I wouldn't want to, but if I rubbed a guy's feet, I would not, woman, guy, anything, it would not disgust me, and I would not find it to be homosexual in any way. So there you go. Or maybe I do, and it's just I'm tricking you. Be your own judge. Crash liked it. He would tell his wife to walk around and not take her shoes off until she got on.
wrote a whole song about it.
Yeah. Damn.
Fred is the Marcus Smart of the show.
Oh, thank you.
Now, he doesn't explain why, but he says, I wanted to keep this short, but Fred just said he doesn't fully believe the Krafts are flea market shoppers, but indeed they are. In fact, the great Jimmy Stewart says he will share in today's show that he has data that suggests the Krafts and the Patriots have been the lowest spending team in terms of real dollars during their entire
that's
ownership.
Nonsense. They've won 6 Super Bowls.
Also,
it's a negative connotation with Marcus Smart. That's what we're getting to.
Just as Fred,
I don't think so.
How good the Krafts are, and this is get ready for check and mate. Ask Fred how good the Krafts are as soccer owners. Find it hard to believe they're the worst owners in one franchise and the standard in the other with the same practices.
Well, if Everett would just give in and finally give us what we all want, which is a Everett soccer stadium, then this would all be fixed. The city should just not have them pay taxes. We desperately, for city pride and for civil to combat civil unrest, need a one purpose soccer stadium.
Yeah.
That is what we need.
Put it next to the casino. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
It is becoming closer to reality. I remember that back in the fall being reported that they actually looks like it is going to happen.
You know what? Too much red tape, as the Circle Jerks once, or Black Flag once said. Go ahead.
You have any emails, John?
I do.
Contribute something.
John,
bozo.
question for you 3. If Vrabel were the original hire and he went 4-13, do you think they're firing him? Secondly, if Vrabel goes 4-13 next year, that's an auto fire, right?
Well, that was my point, is that if, for whoever they hire, like if they go in 4-13 and Andrew put a bunch of qualifiers on it, well, did May get hurt or was the team playing better? You're just when you're firing coaches at this rate, you're giving a guy 1 year and then you're redoing everything. There's a very small margin for error because you're going to have to put up with more. You don't want to be a franchise. The Patriots aren't in a good place. They're in a very familiar place. I'm very familiar with this, as are you. If you're over the age of 40, 40?
If you remember Rod Rust from 1990, who was also a one and done, by the way, by the Patriots, you remember how they had to rebuild. Think about what a mess the Patriots were in the early 90s, trading owners of Victor Kayyem.
So here's the deal. If the Krafts are such bad owners.
Patriots have been here before.
Yeah, if the Krafts are such bad owners, how did they go from the worst franchise in the NFL? The Patriots during that Kayyem were the worst franchise in the NFL.
Worst franchise in the league.
When I was growing up outside of the 85 Super Bowl, I was in Detroit, Michigan. I was able to be a Jets fan and watch the Jets on TV. I never saw the Patriots on television.
Nope. No.
That means Hardy didn't either.
Well, there was a reason for that because they didn't. Back then, you had the blackout rule. You couldn't watch the games if you were a Patriots fan because they never sold out.
So they took the worst franchise, or at least it wasn't when they had Parcells when they bought the team, but they had taken what had been recently the worst franchise in the NFL and made them for a long run the best franchise in the NFL. Just the improvement in what the team's worth. That team couldn't have been like a top 3. Worth one of the top 3 values in the NFL when they bought the team.
Oh no!
And now what are they? It's Cowboys, maybe the Giants, and then them.
They're like 4th, I think.
Okay, whatever.
Forbes
You
last
understand?
list.
Well, they're not the 4th media market.
No.
And then there you go.
No, the Patriots, I cannot underscore how much of a mess the Patriots were in the early 90s. There was that sexual assault thing with Lisa Olsen. in the Patriots
I know.
locker
Well,
room.
that I knew.
I mean, but that's the thing.
Growing up, that I knew.
That's how you knew about the Patriots.
Exactly. That's how you knew about the Patriots.
Yeah, they were practicing at a middle school nearby. I mean, it was awful.
Well, and they have built this whole new thing. They're building this whole new structure on the practice facility. So at least I was not, for my own edification, not completely losing my mind. But I don't buy for a second that the Krafts are not willing to spend to win games. They don't want the crowd booing and not showing up.
That's what prompted this move in the first place.
Exactly. Like they don't. I mean, I'm sure they don't want to spend more money than they have to, but I don't think they would not spend money at the risk of losing their fan base. I mean, that doesn't make sense financially or for his ego. No. This isn't not the Browns. This isn't the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals are a cheap-ass organization.
They're trying to sell TVs out of luxury boxes.
Right, and there's no way they're keeping T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Just won't pay.
Right. Patriots will outspend everyone to bring in T. Higgins.
Well, that makes sense.
What, the owner is angry enough to do that, even if it doesn't make financial sense.
No, it makes sense. You need to for your young quarterback. And T. Higgins isn't old, and you could make the argument that T. Higgins is number one receiver. And if you don't get one in the draft, then you bring.
They were willing to spend on Ridley, but Ridley didn't want to come here. They were willing to spend on Ayuk, but Ayuk didn't want to come here.
They lucked out on Ayuk.
Yes, they did. But they're willing to spend money on Higgins especially, and then we'll see. Once you have the starting quarterback, maybe you bring in the good head coach, see who follows.
Well, Adam, I had a female text me, and she says, I catch you at times in the weirdest times. I agree with Adam about feet. It's Niraj's zone pressure points. It's a thing.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, well, if you want to get off, I'll touch them. I'll touch your feet all
Just
day.
want to get in a break.
Thanks, 12.
Okay.
All right.
We'll be right back with the stack.
Sports Hub headline. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show?
It's two stack Martin. It's two stack Martin. Ready?
It's time for The Stack on
More with FanDuel. Scott came in hot. He's very upset.
You know, I
that Bird
always
was on.
appreciate it when we get appreciated for our in-depth interviews that we do.
I said that to you when I just came in the door break.
What is your problem?
So I'm trying to absorb as much current information on all potential candidates, maybe new GMs coming into
Yeah,
the
you
building.
came to the right place.
And
Good
you're
show.
like, we got this big guest coming on. Radio Formatics, Fred does a phenomenal tease.
Thank you.
Hardy goes, ooh, we got to tease it next. So I drop my kid off, and I'm actually staying in my car in my driveway. And extra 5 minutes waiting for this. You guys introduced a sweaty bird.
And it wasn't Wallach after a run.
No.
Oh, he had a lot of news.
He had good info.
What's his blood pressure right now? What do you think?
Perillo was all pissed at me, too. He's
I
like,
thought it was Paul Perillo.
Yeah, he's
Perillo's
like-
an Everett guy.
You're talking about like a prominent Everett family and like somebody who's going to have some good information, and you do this? Yeah.
We even had him on. Get on it.
Why would Paul Perillo be listening to us for information?
He listens to us because he enjoys the show.
Right.
Yeah, so you should know better than it.
I will not be fooled again by you guys. That's all.
Yes, you will.
But your shenanigans.
Now I'm going to do it deliberately. I'm going to try to lure you in with. You think there's a world where
I was
we would?
seriously pissed off. I was seriously
I- well,
pissed
that-
off for about 30 seconds.
That's great.
And I'm jamming my thumb, and I'm trying to text Hardy at the same time. And I'm like, oh, and I pulled
That's
somebody
so
else up. Sent the text to Hadley.
By the way,
Same as Hardy.
what world are we going to know something that you don't? That's not going to happen.
No, but you had somebody from Everett coming on.
No, I know.
knew,
You thought it was
know,
going to be that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or somebody related to him, or somebody that actually has
It
some
was he was 2 years behind him in school.
They played football together.
That was real news.
They went to Cape Cod for fall, like the summer training.
Yeah, Brewster Mass.
We learned he was kind of a dork.
Oh, really?
That's what.
Office guy dork.
Yeah.
I say, not a fan.
Well, he
of
played at
Portland.
Brown.
I mean, other than
Two
John
sport
Lynch,
kid.
have you seen all the other guys' pictures? Like, they're all dorks. Dorks, nerds.
All I know is Chris Spielman's hanging around. Ever since Chris Spielman came to the Lions, they've been good. And I'm not positive what he does. Because Brad Holmes is the GM. Spielman just kind of... They need to get themselves a Chris Spielman, the Patriots. Sit around, get things done. Cry when they induct him into the Circle of Honor. It's very moving.
I'm gonna skip over one story here because this is one that I think will be of particular interest to Zoe. Going number 2 is good for your brain. This is the this is the latest.
alternative?
I've gone twice already today.
Then what do women do?
New small study found that triathletes perform better on cognitive tests that simulates the experience of rapid decision making in sports when they pooped beforehand. And they took 13 participants, and they took this test.
Oh, you number 2.
3 times a week apart. The first time without going number 2
I need
beforehand.
evidence.
The second time an hour after going to the bathroom, and the third time with the help of a magnesium oxide laxative.
Oh, if you take magnesium, you're going to fall asleep before the whole triathlon.
That's what we were talking about.
It's a true story. We did fifth quarter. We were up in the Global Atriums. Steve Burton, Christian Fourier, and myself. And I had the burners that day. And I let one go, and I knew it was going to be really, really bad. Fourier starts gagging.
Was this on air?
Oh, right before he went on air.
Okay.
And Steve Burton goes, oh, my God, I taste chili. I said, sure, you could taste what I had for lunch. I said, I had chili, I had some of the shrimp, and I had some lamb chops. And
for lunch?
Right in, man. And Burton goes, I can taste the chili. Yeah.
It's a good man. He was,
It was
using
so
his
thick,
mouth.
but it was thick and it lingered.
What did you have for lunch yesterday? You didn't have chili, shrimp, and lamb chops for lunch yesterday?
I mean, that's like what the king of Siam ate in 1682.
I went to the buffet up there before I went down for 11:30.
I understand what was going on, but you
It's
realize
not like I ordered that.
No, but that's like the lunch that like Napoleon had at his height.
That's the give me everything.
That's just my grab and go on a normal Sunday, and I just, Hardy knows what it's like down. You just load up, man.
Yeah, and it's that, but that's like what I picture, like the big king with the beard, like eating like, like big turkey legs.
No utensils.
I think that was the menu at that Temple of Doom dinner. It was right in between.
Right before they handed out the eyeballs.
The
That's
stewed
right.
monkey brains.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'll tell you what, it would screw me up if I had that for lunch. My body would be like, "What the hell's going on?" And you got to eat it quick. Can't
Finally,
process all that.
Finally, Fred, very sad story out of Australia where the childhood home of Malcolm and Angus Young was accidentally destroyed.
She was 4 stone. It was destroyed by Rosie. She sat on the furniture and caved in the place. You know she was 4 stone.
Semi-detached property improperly bulldozed. Yeah.
This is like one of the best-selling bands of all time.
She was super fat. I banged her anyway. She'll be pleased. I'm telling you, her name is Rosie. Big fat lady. I had sex with her anyway. Even though she was fat, I achieved an erection. Now here you go.
Perfect. Now you get classy. By the way, at WBCN in 2006, we played Big Balls by AC/DC.
Yes, we did.
And that was programmed by a national guy. That was a guy who programmed a lot of radio stations. And he said, you know what? You want to hear Big Balls by AC/DC. They didn't even play that in Detroit.
Even I have the sense to not play that on Rock 92.
And claim they had the music test to back it up. Why don't you just...
AC/DC fans don't
us?
like Big Balls. I like AC/DC, but
They have a ton of good songs. You don't have to play that one.
But can we get over the idea that Bon Scott is better than Brian Johnson? That is just saying it just for the idea of saying.
Oh, you're going to upset someone in 12
my uncle Neil will disagree with you, but he's wrong.
He's a Hesher. The
Yes.
only reason that is he enjoyed that Bon Scott looked on the verge of death before he died.
I have a horrible tattoo. Heck. Let there be rock. I got big balls. They're big.
It's bouncing.
They're bouncing
left into the right.
But here you go. You think it's a kickball, but no, nuts, testicles. Wink.